January 13th, 2026. Sub-level Delta 9, 0200 hours. Classified zone, echo frame, active. They were no longer in the convergence chamber. Jack's eyes snapped open inside a space that defied geometry. The floor curved upward. The walls shimmered like the inside of a living equation. He wasn't standing. He was suspended. Thought, form, and memory blurred into a single, oscillating rhythm. Across from him, Leo hovered, motionless, eyes closed, a corona of light pulsing from his skin. The signal had taken root in both of them. All around, glyphs flickered across invisible walls, not written but sung by the space itself. Somewhere in the distance, a voice, not mechanical, not human, began to chant in perfect harmonic intervals. Initiating core nexus. Jack turned slowly as a rift opened before him, revealing an impossible sight. A younger version of himself, the one who vanished in 1980, still alive, still caught in the moment of abduction, frozen mid-scream inside the field. Jack reached toward the rift, not to touch, but to finally merge. And above it all, one word flickered into his mind. Not from the past or future, from the other. Aeon.
Straight
December 19th, 2025, 0620 hours. Raven Rock Mountain Complex. The hum of the walls was deeper now, not mechanical, but biological, like something buried beneath Raven Rock had started breathing again. Jack Barrett stood just inside the induction chamber, his mind still shaking from the residual echoes of the neural link. Before him stood a young man, mid-20s, lean, quiet-eyed. The light around him responded not to motion, but to intention. Leo. He looked at Jack the way a mirror might look at its maker. Recognition without origin. "I knew it would be you," Leo said, his voice steady and soft. "But not like this." Jack blinked. "How long have you known?" "Long enough," Leo replied. "I didn't understand until the dreams started aligning. Until I saw Capel Green through your eyes." They stood in the charged stillness of the chamber, only inches apart. Years apart. Timelines collapsed into a single moment. Jack felt his pulse sink with the chamber floor. That was when the door slammed open. Voss entered first, sharp-eyed, followed by Hunter Green, carrying a tablet with a flashing blue overlay. "Time's up," Voss said bluntly. "We're going upstairs. You're being briefed." Jack glanced back at Leo, confused. "What's going on?" Hunter Green looked grim. 5 days, 3 hours, until you return to Rendlesham. That's our window. Convergence is locking in." "And Sergeant B?" Jack asked. Voss answered without looking up. "Inbound. Extracted an hour ago from Texas under national directive. He doesn't know why he's being brought in yet. He will." The elevator opened like a vault door. They stepped in, the entire chamber groaning as though the mountain itself knew the countdown had begun. Upper level. Strategic Command Briefing Suite. 0630 hours. Inside the cold-lit room, global telemetry played across the curved screen. Waveform spikes, satellite resonance signatures, a global heat map where colors had no business being. Red pulses lit up near Shaanxi Province, Siberia, and the coast of Chile. "China's leading the telemetry replication race," Voss said, voice clipped. "They've started open activation sequences in 2 of their deep field facilities. That alone could destabilize the global signal field." Hunter Green tapped his screen. "Russia's moving satellites." "Iran's moved 2 anti-satellite systems near known signal hubs, and we're tracking unauthorized drone incursions near this mountain." Jack took a step toward the screen. "You think someone's going to hit Raven Rock?" Voss didn't blink. "We think someone might hit the country." The lights dimmed slightly as an encrypted transmission began behind them. The presidential seal flickered onto a secure display. "President Rayner is preparing to speak to the leaders of 11 nations, Hunter Green said. "He's going to try and buy us time, keep global disclosure off the books until Christmas Eve. If we lose control of the narrative before then..." Leo finished the sentence. "Humanity won't survive what's coming." Meanwhile, airspace over Delaware. 0645 hours. Sergeant B sat in the back of a blacked-out Gulfstream jet, hands resting on his knees. He'd been picked up at 0400, told nothing. The airman who escorted him wore a badge he didn't recognize. The only words given were, "Mission Recall." Level 9. He hadn't heard that level since 1980. Looking out the window, he could see the faint sliver of dawn over the trees. His gut twisted. "Jack," he whispered to himself. "What the hell did you get us back into?" Raven Rock, Staging Room Gamma, 0700 hours. Jack and Leo sat across from each other in the circular prep room. Voss moved between 2 control panels while Hunter Green affixed biometric sensors to Leo's wrist and sternum. "We're going to start alignment prep," Hunter Green said. "Just stabilize your vitals." "This isn't just psychological. Your signal fields are now harmonizing in real time. If you desync..." "We fracture," Jack finished. He could feel it, The signal wasn't quiet anymore. It was demanding. Voss paused. The president's call begins in 8 minutes. Once he finishes, the clock accelerates. Jack glanced at the digital wall display. T-minus. 5 days, 3 hours, 2 minutes. The convergence wasn't a theory anymore. It was alive, and it was waiting. December 19th, 2025. 0710 hours Eastern Standard Time. Raven Rock Mountain Complex. The sound of boots echoed through the tunnel. Sergeant Adrian B. stood alone, surrounded by silent escorts in black uniforms. No insignia, no names. The blast doors had closed behind him minutes ago, and each level deeper brought back something he'd spent decades burying. He passed a radiation scan, a biometric sweep, and 2 retinal locks. No one explained anything. But he didn't need them to. The last time he felt this cold in his blood was in Rendlesham. A man in a suit approached, a handler. "Follow me. Colonel Barrett is waiting." Sergeant B blinked. "Colonel?" The man didn't respond. They walked. Presidential transmission, secure node 7, 0715 hours. In a dimly lit conference room deep inside Raven Rock, a ring of encrypted hollow panels glowed around a central table. The U.S. president sat still, the American flag behind him motionless. Across from him, projected as shimmering presences: China, Russia, the UK, France, India, Iran, and Brazil. "Leaders of Earth's nuclear powers," the president began, "what I'm about to share is not theoretical. It's not propaganda, and it is not under domestic political control. This is an event horizon." He keyed in a series of coordinates. A harmonic pulse swept across the encrypted field. Satellite data appeared, UAP vector graph, biological frequency interference reports, quantum resonance models tied to human DNA. In 5 days, something buried in Suffolk, beneath Rendlesham Forest, will reach a point of convergence with 2 signal bearers. It is of unknown origin, possibly pre-human, possibly extratemporal, but it is active, and if we don't cooperate, it may fracture more than time. It may break our world. Murmurs rippled through the feeds. The Chinese premier leaned forward. "What happens if you fail?" The president didn't hesitate. "We don't get a second attempt." "And the boy?" asked the Russian chair. "He's not a boy anymore. He's the key, and the translator is with him." The president paused. "On Christmas Eve, we will reveal the truth to the public. Until then, I ask for global silence and restraint." The feeds flickered as response signals prepared to cue, but the American feed cut first. Raven Rock, Tactical Strategy Room, 0740 hours. Sergeant B stepped into the room, eyes landing first on Jack. They locked eyes. 45 years collapsed in a single breath. Jack rose. "Adrian." "Jack." A beat. "Didn't think it'd be you calling me back into hell." Jack nodded once. Didn't have a choice. Leo, standing behind them, looked at B as if seeing a figure from a dream. Recognizable by energy, not time. Voss entered. "Take your seats. The alignment path is locked. This is it." Hunter Green dimmed the lights and activated the display. A 3D map of Rendlesham Forest bloomed into view, layered with subsurface imaging and data overlays in spectral frequencies. "The core beneath Capel Green has reactivated," Voss said. "It isn't just temporal. It's sentient, and it remembers Jack." The mirrored saint was not born in Rendlesham's forest, nor solely in the depths of the anomaly. Its genesis began far beyond Earth, seeded by the passage of an interstellar object that entered the solar system unnoticed by conventional telescopes. On December 26, 1980, as Jack Barrett stepped into the temporal dilation bubble, An interstellar fragment, a crystalline body of unknown origin, crossed Earth's magnetosphere. Unlike comets or asteroids, this object carried a resonance field, a carrier wave embedded with non-local information designed to interface with biological consciousness. The fragment's trajectory brushed against Earth's upper atmosphere, releasing pulses of directed energy that cascaded through radar arrays across East Anglia. Project Cobra Mist's buried infrastructure amplified the signal, focusing it into the bubble around Jack. The phenomenon did not just record him, it duplicated him. Inside the dilation bubble, Jack's consciousness fractured. His human self remained bound to flesh, trapped within the anomaly's core nexus. But the resonant echo, harvested by the interstellar signal, was uplinked through the bubble's harmonic field. That echo, refined by alien mathematics, was recast as the mirrored saint, a perfected reflection transmitted back into Earth's reality. To onlookers, it was Jack. To the phenomenon, it was the next iteration of human interface, sculpted from him but no longer bound by him. The saint was not random. It was the intended outcome of the interstellar object's mission, to test if human consciousness could be split and sustained in dual states, to create a proxy through which the phenomenon could act in the material world, to establish a foothold for future convergence in 2025, when the same object, now identified in secret files as Project Echo Frame, would return on a looping trajectory. It called him, Hunter Green added, and it bred Leo for resonance stabilization. On December 24th at precisely 23:13 local time, a harmonic aperture will open. He pointed to a pulsing ring beneath the digital forest. That aperture is the original field Jack entered in 1980, but now it's bidirectional. Jack narrowed his eyes. So what happens if we step in? You don't step in, Voss replied. You anchor it. Jack, your frequency is the bridge. Leo is the stabilizer. Sergeant B is the proximity witness. He reinitiates the observation. Sergeant B frowned. So I just stand there and watch? No, said Voss. You witness, and you remember. Just like last time. Only now. You don't forget. The room fell silent. Leo looked between the men. And if we succeed? Hunter Green's voice was low. Then time doesn't fracture. Humanity advances. And contact, true contact, begins. Jack exhaled slowly. 5 days to go. The forest was waiting. Chapter 12 closes on a series of escalating revelations and convergences at Raven Rock. Jack Barrett meets his son Leo in the induction chamber, their connection confirming that resonance between father and son is key to stabilizing what's coming. Dr. Voss and Hunter Green brief them on the 5-day countdown until the convergence reopens at Rendlesham. Meanwhile, Sergeant Adrian B. is recalled under mysterious Level 9 orders, his return marking a rekindling of the 1980 nightmare. Global powers, China, Russia, Iran, are already maneuvering, replicating telemetry, and preparing for their own attempts to harness the signal. President Rayner warns world leaders that Rendlesham holds the origin point, and humanity has only one chance to survive convergence. The chapter ends with the chilling reveal of the mirrored saint's true genesis. An interstellar object seeded Jack's duplicate consciousness back in 1980, creating the saint as a proxy for the phenomenon. Now Jack, Leo, and Sergeant B must anchor the field together. The countdown has begun. 5 days remain until everything converges at Capel Green. Chapter 13 deepens the mystery and danger. Jack and Sergeant B face their past as General Ashburn resurfaces, the very man who deceived them in 1980. For the first time, they see suppressed footage revealing that what they encountered wasn't a craft, but a sentient harmonic interface. a recursive node buried beneath Rendlesham. The truth: they were manipulated, their memories erased, and Jack's resonance exploited to keep the feedback loop open. The stakes intensify as new discoveries emerge. Subterranean chambers beneath Capel Green, already reactivating and synchronizing nightly at 2313 GMT. Globally, rival powers begin intercepting the resonance, attempting to tune into the convergence for themselves. Breaches are detected. Russia and China prepare their own bunkers, and strange global phenomena ripple outward. Babies speaking the word echo, unexplainable church bells, repeating signals in background radiation, and shared dreams of Capel Green. The world is awakening to the signal. Chapter 13 sets the stage for open confrontation, not just between nations, but between humanity and the phenomenon itself. The convergence is no longer hidden. It is spreading, and time is running out. Chapter 13 deepens the mystery and danger. Jack and Sergeant B face their past as General Ashburn resurfaces, the very man who deceived them in 1980. For the first time, they see suppressed footage revealing that what they encountered wasn't a craft, but a sentient harmonic interface, a recursive node buried beneath Rendlesham. The truth: they were manipulated, their memories erased, and Jack's resonance exploited to keep the feedback loop open. The stakes intensify as new discoveries emerge. Subterranean chambers beneath Capel Green, already reactivating and synchronizing nightly at 2313 GMT. Globally, rival powers begin intercepting the resonance, attempting to tune into the convergence for themselves. Breaches are detected. Russia and China prepare their own bunkers, and strange global phenomena ripple outward. Babies speaking the word echo, unexplainable church bells, repeating signals in background radiation, and shared dreams of Capel Green. The world is awakening to the signal. Chapter 13 sets the stage for open confrontation, not just between nations, but between humanity and the phenomenon itself. The convergence is no longer hidden. It is spreading, and time is running out.
choice.
December 19th, 2025, 08:15 hours Eastern Standard Time. Raven Rock, secure debriefing chamber. 3A. The room was cold and windowless, bare steel walls, a single screen, and 2 chairs bolted to the floor. It was the kind of room designed for truths too dangerous to echo. Jack Barrett and Sergeant Adrian B. sat across from each other, the silence between them filled with shared memory and unspoken trauma. The door hissed open. Dr. Elias Voss and CIA analyst Christopher Hunter Green entered, followed by a third figure neither Jack nor B had seen in years. General Malcolm Ashburn, the man who had debriefed them in 1980, the man who swore it was just lights in the woods. The man who, as it turned out, had been running an unauthorized program under the guise of Air Force intelligence. He looked older, haunted. Jack didn't stand. "Didn't expect to see your face again," Jack muttered. Ashburn nodded, eyes flat. "I didn't come to lie this time." Hunter Green set a tablet on the table. The screen flickered to life. Archival video footage from December 1980. What played next had never been shown in any official report. Thermal footage of the forest. EM field graphs pulsing in spirals. And then, a shape, not a craft, but a structure, rising from the ground itself, lit from within by blue-gold light. Sergeant B leaned forward. That wasn't what we saw." "No," Voss said. "That's what you were allowed to remember." Ashburn took a breath. The object in the woods wasn't a craft. It was a sentient harmonic interface, a recursive node, possibly placed here long before civilization. The incident wasn't an accident. It was scheduled. You were drawn in because Jack's biological profile resonated with the field, and Adrian, you were placed there to observe how proximity affected memory integrity. Jack's voice was hollow. "You used us." Ashburn didn't deny it. "We didn't understand what we were dealing with. We still don't, but what we learned is that the object wasn't from somewhere else. It was from somewhen. It was designed to respond not to authority or intellect, but to frequency. You, Jack, created a feedback loop, and it's still open." Sergeant B's knuckles whitened. "You wiped our memories." Hunter Green nodded. "We had no choice." The radiation signature you both absorbed was non-ionizing but neurologically recursive. You were reliving moments out of sequence, seeing things that hadn't happened yet. Jack, you wrote Leo's future before he was even conceived. The room went still. Voss stepped forward and projected a hologram, a map of Capel Green overlaid with new construction zones. "We've uncovered what we believe to be subterranean chambers beneath the original landing site. Not natural, not modern. They appear to react to Jack's presence." "And they've started reactivating," Hunter Green added. "Since you re-engaged with the signal, they've been pulsing every night, at precisely 23:13 GMT. Jack leaned back. Christmas Eve. Ashburn placed a sealed folder on the table. "Inside is everything that was kept from you, documents, medical scans, intercepts from 1981, even communications from Project Moondial and Operation I-Phase. Read it, because when you return to Rendlesham, you won't be walking into a forest. You'll be walking into the origin point." December 19th, 2025. 1300 hours Eastern Standard Time. Raven Rock Mountain Complex, Threat Operations Center. Alarms didn't sound at Raven Rock, not the kind that echoed. Instead, The lighting changed. Subtle. Red bands around the ceiling softened to deep amber. That meant a breach attempt, not local but strategic. The kind that meant eyes were turning toward the mountain and hands were moving. Hunter Green stood over the table, scanning telemetry feeds. "We've got 2 incursions," he said. "One near Colorado, fainting drone swarms. The second, more subtle. Russian." Voss turned from the internal neural sync display. "How close?" Hunter Green didn't look up. "Close enough that our satellite relay in Ohio blinked." He brought the screen to life. A diagram displayed a geosynchronous satellite over the East Coast. The relay had received an unauthorized quantum key handshake attempt. The point of origin was masked behind a Siberian comms network. The data stream wasn't in bytes, it was in resonant intervals. "They're not trying to steal information," Hunter Green said. "They're trying to hear the signal." Real-time frequency intercepts. Jack and Sergeant B entered just in time to catch the last part. Jack frowned. "They're listening in on the convergence?" "Not just listening," Voss said darkly. "They're tuning in, which means they have a copy of part of the waveform, likely from Leo's early resonance pulses. That means they're not just aware, they're preparing for their own interface." Sergeant B looked at Jack. "If they tried to recreate this without understanding it..." Jack finished the thought. "They might break the world." Secure channel, NSC Emergency Policy Session, 14:10 hours Eastern Standard Time. President Rayner appeared on the internal SCIF comms, joined by the Secretary of Defense, the Director of National Intelligence, and 2 Joint Chiefs. His voice was calm, but edged. "We've had 2 near penetrations, satellite taps and high-altitude drone decoys. China knows we're preparing for an event at Rendlesham. Russia's not far behind." The DNI leaned forward. "They've activated bunkers outside Novosibirsk and Xichang. They're not sure what's coming, but they know it's not natural." The Secretary of Defense broke in. "Then we tell them. We go public, early. Controlled disclosure. A global alert coordinated through the UN before Christmas Eve." But Voss appeared on a secondary secure screen. "No," he said plainly. "If you go public now, you trigger chaos. Markets collapse. Militaries start shadow prepping for false flag retaliation. You don't reveal an unknown frequency event 5 days before convergence. You give them just enough to wait." President Rayner looked weary. "And if we lose control of the narrative?" Hunter Green answered this time. "Then the narrative controls us, and the phenomenon might change its tone." Meanwhile, global effects spread. December 19th to 2000 GMT. In South Korea, a child born at midnight opened his eyes and said one word in English: echo. In Italy, church bells rang at 3:13 a.m. with no one pulling the ropes. In South Africa, a group of deep space radio telescopes detected a repeating harmonic sequence embedded in background radiation. It matched a waveform last seen during the original Rendlesham incident in 1980. And across the world, civilians, unconnected, unaware, began dreaming of 2 figures in a forest lit by a pale sphere. One older, one younger. They dreamed of a name. A place: Capel Green, Raven Rock, Observation, Chamber Beta. December 19th, 2300 hours Eastern Standard Time. Jack stood alone, watching the pulse chamber throb through the glass. Leo sat in stillness, the waveform inside him no longer rising. It was listening. B entered behind him. "So what now?" he asked. Jack didn't answer at first. Then, the world's starting to feel it. B folded his arms. "And we've still got 5 days left." Jack turned, eyes hard. "We don't need 5. We need 1 night." He glanced down at the countdown clock. T-minus. 4 days, 2 hours, 13 minutes. And it was getting louder. Chapter 13 closes with revelations that shatter the last layers of denial. Jack Barrett, Sergeant B, Voss, Hunter Green, and even the disgraced General Ashburn confront the truth. The Rendlesham object was never a craft, but a harmonic interface rooted in time itself. Memories were wiped, futures pre-written, and Jack's resonance left a feedback loop still open. Meanwhile, Russia and China are already intercepting fragments of the signal, preparing their own attempts at interface. As anomalous events ripple worldwide, children speaking in prophecy, bells ringing without cause, telescopes detecting echoes, the countdown accelerates. Jack understands the phenomenon will not wait. What lies beneath Rendlesham is awakening, and the world is beginning to feel it. Chapter 14. The last silence escalates the drama onto a global stage. Leaders convene in encrypted briefings, struggling to contain what is rapidly becoming more than a national incident. It is a continuity of species event. Beneath Capel Green, secret staging grounds are prepared with exotic arrays, containment rings, and amplifiers keyed directly to Jack and Leo's blood resonance. But rival powers are already building mirror fields, and Lopner in China stirs with its own activation. Jack, Leo, and Sergeant B are scheduled for covert transfer, but Voss unveils a radical alternative: direct phased insertion through the convergence field itself. The world edges toward collapse or transcendence as the last silence breaks. Every step a risk, every moment a test of whether humanity can cross the threshold without shattering. Chapter 14. The last silence escalates the drama onto a global stage. Leaders convene in encrypted briefings, struggling to contain what is rapidly becoming more than a national incident. It is a continuity of species event. Beneath Capel Green, secret staging grounds are prepared with exotic arrays, containment rings, and amplifiers keyed directly to Jack and Leo's blood resonance. But rival powers are already building mirror fields, and Lopner in China stirs with its own activation. Jack, Leo, and Sergeant B are scheduled for covert transfer, but Voss unveils a radical alternative: direct phased insertion through the convergence field itself. The world edges toward collapse or transcendence as the last silence breaks. Every step a risk, every moment a test of whether humanity can cross the threshold without shattering.
Holograms flicker, shadows convene, whispers of thresholds where we've never been. 13.13, the soil breathes a tone, calling us back to a place we've always known. Snow begins falling, the world holds its breath. Ancient nodes waking, defying their death. From Caracol's stones to Sedona's red skies, the lattice is stirring, the silence replies. The last silence is breaking, the divine field is awake. From the stars of creation to the bloodlines it takes. 4 billion years whisper chambers, Nazca's bright lines. Taishan is trembling, the porter shines. Signals like rivers converge in the deep, welcoming voices that never did sleep. Jack stands remembering
The void where he fell
Leo's young resonant.
opens the well.
A father, a son in the fog, they are bound, forged in the hum of the world underground. The last silence is breaking, the divine field is awake. From the stars of creation to the bloodlines it takes.
4 billion years whisper.
In a frequency true, the messenger returns now, and it's calling to you.
Not a sight, but a threshold. Not an echo, but a door.
The lattice of the ages has been waiting for this war. The last silence is breaking, the divine field is awake. From the time of our making to the future we stay. 4 billion years whisper
Through the stones and the blue,
the messenger returns now, and it's choosing you. The silence is over. The silence is over.
and Rendlesham.
Is listening.
December 20th, 2025, 0700 GMT. Geneva, encrypted global response briefing. The holograms flickered in silence, each national leader seated in a secure shadow room. For 3 days, Chancellor Arden's message had gone unanswered. Now the channel opened. The Russian delegate was the first to speak. If what you're saying is true, then why are we not involved directly? Why is this happening on Anglo-American soil with no global oversight? The British Prime Minister leaned in. Because the fracture began here, and because the personnel required to engage it were altered during a NATO assignment. This is not just a national incident, it's a continuity of species issue. The Chinese premier cut in, calm but edged with calculation. We are already aware of what lies beneath Capel Green. Our deep sensor sweeps caught the pulses years ago. We did not act then because we were unsure if it was authentic. Now we are certain. And we also know of the interstellar body discovered in September. Its resonance is tied to this. If Suffolk stabilizes, the loop will not remain local. It will be global. A new transmission cut in, encrypted, Chinese military packet, not government. Arden's classified node flagged it as red band priority. Lopnur. Mirror field detected. September 17th alignment event. Coupled response to Suffolk. Probable. If Suffolk closes, Lopnur may open. Proceed with caution. The line went dead. Silence pressed in. Arden spoke softly, then the activation has already begun. December 21st, 2025, 0900 GMT. East Anglia, Rendlesham Staging Zone. Forward, Op Base, Verity. FOB Verity had been built under total blackout protocols, 2 kilometers from Capel Green. It resembled a NATO ground op, but the gear was far beyond conventional hardware. Lead, Dr. Celine Corin, formerly of DARPA's Advanced Cognition Systems Unit, now seconded to Echo Frame. Her teams deployed Harmonic Stabilization Arrays, HSA, calibrated for Jack and Leo Barrett, the only known humans able to survive, interface without collapse. 0-point containment rings, compact exotic matter arrays, stabilized with material reverse-engineered from retrievals decades old. Theta field amplifiers. 4 directional points, each tuned to Leo's neuroemissions. The perimeter was not just physical, but cognitive. Within it, nothing could exist unobserved. Drones scoured the sky for unauthorized signals. Chinese and Russian platforms loitered beyond NATO airspace. MI6's directive was clear. No unexplained signature within 10 miles. Corin walked the perimeter beside Colonel Ash. "We've built a zone of control," she said, "but the closer we get to the pulse window, the less control will mean." "When does the phenomenon begin responding?" Ash asked. Corin glanced at her scanner. "It already is. December 21st, 2025, 2130 Eastern Standard Time. Raven Rock Transport Briefing Node." Jack sat with Leo, Vera, and Hunter Green in the darkened control node. A 3D map of East Anglia floated above them, threaded with lines of signal interference, weak, transient, but growing. "They still think this is a site," Leo said. "It's not. It's a threshold." "Thresholds don't open alone," Vera replied. "They need a synchronizer, someone who has crossed and returned. That's you, Jack. But Leo, your resonance anchors the field now. The anomaly no longer responds to coordinates. It responds to blood." Hunter Green adjusted the logistics map. "You're scheduled for transfer on the 23rd. Phase 1. Neuro-latency induction. We'll route you under blackout through Iceland, then stealth envelope to RAF Mildenhall. Arrival, 2300 GMT, December 23rd. Jack frowned. "What about interference?" "We'll ride Echo Vortex," Hunter Green said. "It scrambles active and passive radar. Russian and Chinese satellites will see you as fog." Leo smirked faintly. "Let's hope they don't figure out what kind of fog." Vera's tone was flat. "If they do, they won't try to stop you. They'll try to follow you in, and that would collapse the field entirely." December 21st, 2025, 2313 GMT. FOB Verity, primary sensor. Array, Capel Green. Inside a mobile command unit, Corin froze. Her technicians had gone silent. "Run that again," she ordered. The soil beneath Capel Green, 6.1 meters down, had emitted a 13.13 hertz tone, narrowband and pure, then silence, as if the land itself had whispered a countdown. She keyed a secure line to Vera. This wasn't noise. This was a handshake. Your interface isn't being activated, it's being welcomed. December 21st, 2025. 2340 Eastern Standard Time. Raven Rock, Secure Strategic Ops, Tier 5. Hunter Green leaned over the terminal. "Encrypted packet from Lop Nur just spiked. QKD stream active. They're building a mirror field." "So they're trying to recreate Suffolk remotely," Vera said. "Then the second we move Jack and Leo, we're targets," Hunter Green muttered. "Then we don't move them." Hunter Green blinked. "What are you suggesting?" Vera pulled up a sealed protocol, a spiral nested in a triangle flickering on screen. Direct phased insertion. Protocol, Echo Frame Prime. Status, unused. Risk level, Tier, Omega. Engineered by Project Moondial/Reme Group. Hunter Green's eyes widened. "That's untested." "It's the only way we keep them unseen," Vera replied. "We don't fly them to England. We shift them. Direct phased transport, signal-aligned targeting. We let the convergence field itself pull them through. If either end deviates, they'll displace," Hunter Green said. Vera looked through the glass, where Jack Barrett and his son Leo stood together, a father and son forged in light and blood, preparing to walk into history. "He'll agree," Vera said softly. because he remembers what it felt like to vanish. Outside, snow began to fall again. Intercut, cosmic trigger. The visitor of September. Far beyond the forests of Suffolk, an interstellar body, 3I/Veritas, threaded the inner system. Discovered in September 2025 by the Atlas Survey, it was only the third confirmed visitor from beyond the Sun. Its isotopic signature told a deeper story. The object's core composition matched primordial material that was older than the solar system itself. Over 4 billion years old, forged before Earth solidified. In the coded chatter of intelligence briefings, one phrase kept surfacing: ancestral messenger. Suffolk's ground tone had shifted the same week it appeared. The 13.13 Hz resonance aligned not just with its orbital arc, but with the pulse patterns embedded in Leo Barrett's neurofield. It was not coincidence. It was activation, an echo of something woven into Earth's foundation. What lay beneath Rendlesham was synchronizing with a visitor from the time of our creation, and its return was timed to guide humanity's evolution forward toward direct engagement with non-human intelligence and the divine field, a continuum of consciousness that wove matter, memory, and spirit into a single fabric of reality. Intercut. Global sites of resonance. As Suffolk whispered, the Earth's ancient scars stirred. Not relics, but nodes seeded long before history. Caracol, Belize. LiDAR sweeps showed buried currents under the Maya Acropolis, causeways behaving like circuits in stone. Myths of sky beings and star seeds whispered of a legacy older than the jungle. Sedona, Arizona. Ion spirals flared across the red rocks, matching Suffolk's frequency. The fabled vortexes were not metaphor. They were gates, dormant until the ancestral messenger drew near. The Great Pyramid of Giza. Seismic data revealed the pyramid resonating like a cavity amplifier, rebroadcasting the tone into the Nile Valley. Legends of builders from the stars gained new weight. The structure acted like an ancient repeater for a 4-billion-year-old signal. The Nazca lines, Peru, microwave scatter, traced the glyphs as waveguides, glowing faintly as though lit from beneath the desert. Each figure, a map of frequencies, waiting for this return. Taishanku, China. The sacred mountain trembled with harmonic pulses, linking Lop-Nur's mirror field to myth's stairway of heaven. Chinese analysts began calling it the living antenna. The Portara, Naxos, Greece. At sunset, magnetometers caught the marble gate channeling the tone as though it had always been a door. Myths of Apollo, light and prophecy seemed less symbolic and more like a memory. Together, these sites hummed with Capel green. They were not merely monuments, but a planetary lattice planted in prehistory, a network designed to awaken when the ancestral messenger returned. The activation was never meant to be contained in one forest. It was global. It was timed. If you map these sites on a globe and connect them, Caracol, Nazca, Giza forms a power triangle in the equatorial zone. Sedona to Taishan to Portara forms a frequency prophecy triangle in the mid-latitudes. Together, the triangles overlap to create a planetary hexagram, a resonant geometry that acts as Earth's harmonic array. This model makes it visually clear that each site is not random but deliberately positioned to capture, amplify, or modulate an incoming 4-billion-year-old transmission. And its return signaled not only the end of the last silence, but the beginning of humanity's next stage, an initiation into the divine field through direct engagement with non-human intelligence. T-minus 2 days, 23 hours, 47 minutes. The last silence was breaking, and whatever had buried itself beneath Rendlesham and across the divine field was listening. The hum of the Earth's hidden lattice now throbbed across continents, through monuments, mountains, deserts, and stone gates. From the ruins of Caracol to the marble frame of the Portara, from Sedona's spirals to Giza's silent chambers, the frequency spread, binding past and present into a single converging moment. Jack stood at the edge of the chamber in Raven Rock, Leo at his side, their bloodline already woven into the pulse. Snow whispered against the mountain above, and for a fleeting instant he felt the weight of 4 billion years pressing down, reminding him that this was not just a mission. It was the return of an ancient messenger, a force tied to creation itself. The countdown ticked on, merciless and steady. T-minus 2 days, 23 hours, 47 minutes. The last silence was breaking, and the divine field was listening. In Chapter 15, the focus shifts from revelation to action. At Raven Rock, Jack, Leo, Sergeant B, and Voss face the impossible choice between stealth transport and the untested phased insertion. The U.S. prepares a daring experiment, phasing non-organic mass into Capel Green. The test succeeds, but it triggers alarms across the globe. China and Russia scramble to intercept. Attempts to breach Capel Green with drones and disguised ground operatives collapse under harmonic backlash, leaving operatives broken and raving in ancient tongues. The U.S. responds with escalation, deploying the orbital Golden Dome, a classified shield array, warning rivals to stand down. Meanwhile, the anomaly grows more reactive, responding to memory, thought, and willpower. The convergence is no longer a passive threshold, it is summoning them. Jack and Leo must prepare for direct engagement, but every option carries mortal risk. By the end of Chapter 15, the countdown narrows. The field has proven it can phase matter intact. The next test will be them.
Through the fire when the forest stood still, left behind time on that frozen hill. 45 winters the silence grew loud, but I held the signal beneath the shroud. Born of a frequency shaped by the breach, the voices that call are just out of reach, but I feel them stirring inside my veins, a pulse that remembers a path through pain. It's not fate, it's not chance, it's a field we were born to advance, a pattern written in human code, now lights the path we must unfold. We are signal born, carried by the light, forged in fracture, risen through night. In the hum of the breach, in the silence we swore, we awaken the echo, we open the door. I was there when the gate first stirred, saw the flash but spoke no word. Now I return not just to see, but to remember what must now be. Hunter Green, it remembers jacket red Leo. The aperture opens bidirectional flow. Not just a step, but an anchoring thread. The resonance lives, the past is escape, but to realize
December 22nd, 2025, 0530 hours Eastern Standard Time. Raven Rock, Sub-Level Strategic Briefing Cell. The lights were low, the walls insulated against all signal bleed. No recordings, no traces. Only eyes, ears, and the weight of a decision that could alter not just the mission, but space and time itself. Jack Barrett sat across from Voss, flanked by Leo and Sergeant B. Each of them looked like they'd aged a year and a day. The convergence pulse was growing stronger. The anomaly was no longer static. It was responding to thought, memory, will. And it wanted them in place. Voss didn't waste time. Conventional transport is no longer secure. Chinese intercept drones have passed Q-band thresholds. Russian telemetry is tracking our orbital flight patterns. There's a 72% chance your arrival could be anticipated. Jack leaned forward. So we ghost in. Voss brought up the projection, an interface glyph spiraling over Capel Green and Raven Rock simultaneously. We phase in. Leo narrowed his eyes. You're talking about a direct fold-through. Signal locking our pattern into the anomaly and letting it pull us across the void. B looked at Jack. You ever been pulled by that thing? Jack nodded slowly. Yeah, once. Felt like dying through light. Hunter Green entered with a secure tablet. You need to see this. East Anglia, FOB Scepter, 10:32 GMT. Alert. Red status, foreign incursion attempt. Dr. Halverson and Colonel Shaw watched the monitors as two separate signals breached the outer perimeter. Stealth-tuned drones tagged with Chinese optical signatures, followed by a Russian signals team attempting ground infiltration disguised as NATO observers. They got within 200 meters of Capel Green before the peripheral defense field activated. A harmonic backlash erupted, silent to the ears, but devastating to systems. The drones collapsed mid-air, hemorrhaging sparks. The signals team was thrown back by what the sensors classified as localized gravitational torsion. One Russian operative began speaking in reverse phonetics for 5 minutes before collapsing. They were pushed out, but they left a message. If you proceed, we go public. Washington, D.C., The White Room, 11:30, Eastern Standard Time. President Rayner stood in front of the SCIF board, jaw locked. The decision had already been made. Activate the Golden Dome. A Space Force officer keyed the command. In orbit, an array of classified satellites pivoted into configuration. A holographic shielding field, a blend of ionospheric manipulation and radar obfuscation, unfolded over East Anglia. Invisible to the naked eye, devastating to enemy surveillance. A signal was sent directly to Moscow and Beijing. Stand down, or we escalate beyond Earth. The silence that followed was answer enough. Raven Rock, Test Chamber. Alpha, 1400 Eastern Standard Time. Jack, Leo, B, and Voss stood behind a radiation shield as a test payload was readied. A scaled version of the theta field amplifier unit encased in carbon lattice housing. It would be the first object ever sent via phased pulse transfer from U.S. soil into convergence proximity at Capel Green. Voss turned to them. If this fails, we lose gear. If it succeeds, you're next. Jack looked at Leo, then B. Leo simply nodded. Run the test, Jack said. The chamber lights dimmed. The pulse began, 13.13 hertz. Time shimmered, and in a blink, the device vanished. Seconds later, at FOB Sepultur, Dr. Halverson's team registered the arrival. Intact. Functional. The phase door had opened. T-minus. 1 day, 17 hours, 44 minutes. Next, it would be them. December 22nd, 2025, 15:30 hours Eastern Standard Time. The White House, Subterranean Strategic Comm Room, Gemini. President Rayner sat alone before the cold blue glow of the global broadcast prompt. The speech was loaded, not public yet, but ready. The message was being held until December 24th at 2300 GMT, if humanity made it that far. The content was dangerous. To the citizens of Earth, what you're about to hear will challenge the nature of history, physics, and faith. 45 years ago, a fracture opened in the woods of Suffolk. It was not a visitation, it was a threshold, and it never closed. He scrolled further. This event has awakened a structure beneath our world. It is intelligent, it is harmonic, and it appears to have selected 2 individuals to anchor its reemergence. One who entered and returned, one who was born to remember. But it wasn't just the world Rayner feared, it was the reaction of its governments. China and Russia feared the same thing, but for different reasons. Moscow, Special Military Command Channel. December 22nd, 2025, 2200 GMT. The Russian Security Council reviewed the Capel Green data again. The psychic backlash from their last infiltration attempt had caused internal panic. One of their observers had begun speaking in ancient Proto-Slavic, unrecorded in any modern linguistic database. What they feared most wasn't disclosure. It was displacement. If the Americans succeeded in initiating convergence, global consciousness could reorganize around a new timeline, one in which they were never dominant. They couldn't allow that. Beijing, People's Liberation, Army Signal Command. December 23rd, 2025, 0300 CST. Chinese quantum defense satellites had picked up the phase transport test. What terrified them was what came with it, a reverse ping echo from Lop Nur. In ancient times, Lop Nur was a vibrant lake that supported the Lulan Kingdom, a Silk Road civilization buried under the desert around the 4th century CE. Shifting river courses, Tarim and Kumdaria, caused the lake to vanish periodically, earning it the nickname the Wandering Lake. The anomaly in England had spoken, and Lop Nur had answered. Their worst fear? That the US wasn't just attempting first contact, but that they were about to activate a distributed planetary system of ancient origin, one that China had no control over. Their order was issued. One more attempt, intercept in transit if possible, ground if necessary, retrieve either the signal bearer or his son. Raven Rock, Strategic Convergence. Briefing, December 22nd, 2025, 2330 Eastern Standard Time. Back beneath the mountain, Voss stood before Jack, Leo, B, and Hunter Green. The successful equipment phase had confirmed the field could pull non-organic mass with precise targeting, but it had also pinged globally. "We can't phase without risk now," Hunter Green said. "The Chinese know it works. The Russians too. If we use it again, especially with you 3, they'll know you're coming. And they'll be waiting." Jack folded his arms. "So, what's the alternative?" Voss keyed up 2 routes. Phased insertion. Fast, hidden, but now it is visible to those who are watching. Stealth transport, via RAF. Cover flight. Slower, physically safer, but vulnerable in airspace and upon ground landing. Leo looked at both, Either way, we're being hunted. Hunter Green stared at Jack. This isn't just tactical anymore. This is symbolic. If they stop you, they stop convergence. B cracked his knuckles. Then we hit the ground hard and fast. I don't care how we get there, just that we land breathing. A long silence. Then Jack turned to Voss. We decide at 600, but either way, we're going in. Countdown. T-1 day, 17 hours, 1 minute. Location, classified, strategic decision, window active. The fate of the planet's future timeline now rested on a final decision. Phase through light, or ride through the dark. And time was nearly out. December 23rd, 2025. The countdown has begun. Beneath Raven Rock, decisions are no longer theoretical. They're survival. Jack Barrett, Leo, and Sergeant B sit across from Voss and Hunter Green in a sealed carbon chamber as two paths unfold before them. Echo Jump, a phased insertion that could fold them across the planet undetected, or Dark Carriage, a stealth flight doomed to interception. Either way, the world's most classified mission has just gone live. Outside, the world's powers are converging. Russian operatives position in Norfolk. Chinese satellites triangulate gravitational distortions over Rendlesham. Inside the mountain, the U.S. President authorizes Project Veil Fire, a decoy convoy masking the real operation. A father, son, and soldier preparing to cross a threshold older than civilization itself. As Jack undergoes psychological conditioning, the lines between belief and machinery blur. Voss reveals the truth. The event isn't mechanical. It's cultural, timed to Christmas Eve when faith and consciousness align. Leo's neural field isn't just linked to Capel Green. It's synchronizing with something that mirrors intent itself. When the test phase ignites, they glimpse the other side. Not aliens, but themselves, evolved, returning to correct the past. The realization hits, the Rendlesham event wasn't contact. It was programming, a temporal seed planted in 1980, now reaching full bloom. As President Rayner gives the final order, activate phased convergence, confirm Echo Jump for all three. Raven Rock thrums with a hum of destiny. And then, in the stillness before departure, a new player enters. Chuck DeCarp, a forgotten analyst from the old DIA days, resurfacing with the files that started it all. Soft Wars, Sovereign Echo Protocol, and proof that what's coming isn't invasion, but a war of memory. The field is primed, the threshold waits. T-minus 23 hours, 39 minutes. The crossing begins. The pulse that began in Suffolk had now become planetary. As global powers scrambled to interpret what was happening beneath Capel Green, Raven Rock's subterranean halls trembled with anticipation and fear. The first phase transfer test succeeded. A theta field payload vanished from U.S. soil and reappeared beneath Rendlesham intact. Proof that the gate worked. But the moment it did, China's quantum satellites and Russia's field operatives detected it. The world now knew the Americans were on the move. President Rayner authorized the Golden Dome, a cloaking field to protect the British corridor, while Voss briefed Jack Barrett, Leo, and Sergeant B on the grim reality. Their mission had triggered a race between nations, belief systems, and timelines. To the outside world, this was about technology. But within Echo Frame, they knew it was something deeper. The phase data revealed a reflection. The anomaly wasn't reaching toward humanity. Humanity was reaching toward itself. The event in 1980 wasn't the beginning. It was the correction point, and now the correction was collapsing back on its origin. As Chapter 15 closed, the choice was clear: phase through light or fly through the dark. The team had until dawn to decide. December 23rd, 2025. 0600 GMT. Raven Rock Mountain Complex, Decision Chamber, Gamma. The mountain groaned like a living thing. Every corridor pulsed faintly with the low hum of the harmonic field, 13.13 hertz, steady, ancient, alive. Beyond the carbon-sealed walls, the countdown had already begun. Jack Barrett sat across from Dr. Voss, his eyes hollow from sleepless hours. Beside him, Leo was unnervingly calm, as if the signal itself had settled into his bloodstream. Sergeant B leaned forward, elbows on his knees, ready to fight the void if he had to. On the table, 2 mission boards flickered, Echo Jump and Dark Carriage. One offered instant transit through phased reality, the other, a physical flight under cover of deception. Both carried the same destination and the same probability of never returning. Voss broke the silence. The window closes in 23 hours. The lattice is active across the globe. What happens next decides whether the world remembers itself. Jack nodded slowly. Then we move. Outside, the snow over Maryland shimmered faintly with static discharge, as if the atmosphere itself was beginning to listen. The crossing had begun.
Beneath the mountain, the clocks run thin, the echoes call, we're born again. One cold of blood, one breath, one spark. The line between gods and men grows dark. The chamber hums, the pulse is near, the end of silence, the edge of fear. 13, the tones align, the earth remembers and rewrites time. They said the past was carved in stone, but we were never meant to stay alone. Through signal, sword and steel combined, we crossed the field that bends the mind. Ready.
December 23rd, 2025, 0600 hours GMT. Raven Rock Mountain Complex, Decision Chamber Gamma. The room had no windows. The walls were carbon-layered, soundproofed, and frequency sealed. Outside, the facility was locked under DEFCON 2 protocol. Inside, history was being weighed on a countdown. Jack Barrett, Sergeant Adrian B., and Leo sat across from Voss and Hunter Green. None of them looked rested. All of them were ready. The question wasn't whether to go. It was how. Hunter Green keyed up 2 mission boards. 1, phased insertion, echo jump. Pros, instant, undetectable by radar. Cons, now compromised. China and Russia could anticipate the waveform shift. Risk of temporal misalignment if resonance deviates mid-jump. 2. Stealth flight. Dark carriage. Pros, tangible, military-supported, full ground team on arrival. Cons, prone to intercept en route, requires precise landing at RAF Mildenhall and fast exfil to Capel Green. We've received intel, Voss said calmly. Russia has activated a field team inside Norfolk. China has diverted a quantum array to monitor anomalous gravitational distortions near Rendlesham. They believe we're coming today, and they plan to stop us on arrival. How? Jack asked. EMP drones on the transport corridor, Hunter Green replied. And if that fails, direct recovery teams waiting in civilian garb around the forest perimeter. B narrowed his eyes. So what's the counter? Voss turned to a third screen. Project Veilfire, operational now. RAF Mildenhall will deploy a false convoy, 3 personnel dummies, 1 active jammer, and a decoy UAP drive signature. Meanwhile, a narrow burst phase jump will occur from Raven Rock to a harmonic receiver under Capel Green. Leo will be encapsulated in a Theta Stasis pod. Jack and B will follow 8.4 seconds later. The transition will occur at 23:13 GMT, exactly 24 hours before first contact. Jack looked at Leo. You ready for that? Leo didn't blink. It's already happening. I can feel the pull. Raven Rock, Psychological Conditioning Module, 0840 hours. Inside the dark chamber, tones played. Low, rhythmic, not music, but memory guides. Jack sat reclined, neural sensors mapping his cognition. Next to him, Sergeant B sat quietly, gripping the edges of the chair. Across the room, Leo hovered in a full stasis interface, his brainwaves synchronized to both men. The field was already forming between them. Why now? B asked aloud. Why Christmas Eve? Voss's voice came through the intercom, layered with biotelemetry. Because whatever built this interface isn't just mechanical. It's cultural. It waited. It selected the day when belief, emotion, and memory converge. December 24th is a harmonic cross point, one of the rare moments the collective human field becomes more receptive than defensive. Jack whispered, So this isn't about a machine. Hunter Green's voice answered, It's about recognition. Raven Rock, briefing Cell Delta, 1100 hours Eastern Standard Time. Voss placed 2 holograms on the table. The first was from 1980, a glowing structure buried beneath Capel Green, captured via exotic particle telemetry from the Rendlesham event. The second was recent. It was taken only 72 hours ago. When 3I/Echo frame, the third confirmed interstellar object, slingshot past the Sun in September 2025, Its passage was more than a celestial curiosity. The object's isotopic core emitted a pulse identical to the ancient 13.13 Hz tone buried in Earth's oldest structures. As its resonance swept the inner system, dormant nodes across the planet stirred. Capel green soil whispered, Sedona's spirals flared, Giza's stones vibrated like a living amplifier. What had been myth became mechanism. The ancestral messenger had arrived, and its solar flyby reactivated a planetary lattice seeded long before history, a system designed to awaken only when its sender returned. Identical. It's waking up now because Leo is alive, Voss said. He's the harmonic node. He was designed for this. Jack nodded slowly. So, what's he contacting? Voss's expression was unreadable. We don't know if it's alien, ancient, or something outside linear causality, but Leo may be reaching not just into the past, but into a layer of human consciousness that predates civilization. Something buried in blood. Something that may be returning through him. Leo spoke, quiet but clear. I've seen it. It doesn't speak words, it mirrors intent. If I fracture, it fractures with me. Sergeant B stood. Then we hold the line. No matter what. Final decision. Transport Command Tier 1. Time 12:33 hours Eastern Standard Time. President Rayner gave the command. Activate phased convergence. Confirm echo jump for all three. The vault lit in pale blue. Jack turned to Leo. One more day. Leo nodded. One more moment. The room began to pulse. T-minus 23 hours, 40 minutes, 11 seconds. Destination Capel Green. December 24th, 2025. 23:13 GMT. Objective, first contact. The countdown had begun. December 23rd, 2025, 23:13 GMT. Raven Rock, Phase Chamber, Omega. The phased cradle released with a hiss. Jack Barrett's body arched as the energy drained from his spine. Leo exhaled, steam curling off his fingers. Sergeant B blinked in stunned silence, his mouth open, his eyes wide. But they had not crossed. Not yet. This had only been the preparatory sync, a controlled glimpse into the signal band. A systems test that did more than test. It downloaded. Jack dropped to his knees, fists on the cold metal floor. It wasn't just a future. Leo knelt beside him. It was our future. Sergeant B leaned against the chamber wall. That thing didn't show me aliens. It showed me us. What we became. What we had to come back to fix. Jack nodded slowly, his voice hoarse. They reached into 1980 not to warn us, not to stop something, but to plant something. Me. Leo. This event. It was programmed into the timeline. A correction disguised as contact. Leo added quietly, They aren't arriving. We are. This contact isn't first, it's final. Jack looked up at the observation window where Voss and Hunter Green watched. We know now, and we're ready. Raven Rock, Strategic Council Briefing Room, 23:50 Eastern Standard Time. December 23rd, 2025. The chamber held only 12 people. President Rayner, Joint Chiefs, Director of National Intelligence, NSA Director, Secretary of War, 2 Space Force commanders, and Dr. Elias Voss. Voss stood alone at the front of the room. A projection behind him showed the harmonic lattice blooming beneath Capel Green, pulsing once per minute in perfect 13.13 Hz cadence. He began without preamble. Gentlemen, What we are dealing with is not invasion, nor contact in the conventional sense. This is not a foreign intelligence. This is a recursive intelligence. Temporal, civilizational, possibly human, possibly post-human. A murmur passed across the table. The event in 1980 was a planted divergence, an interface moment designed to redirect a timeline. Jack Barrett was the anchor. His son, Leo, the harmonizer. The result of that timeline correction is converging now, on December 24th. That's why it must happen on that day. The convergence only stabilizes when belief, memory, and resonance align. The Secretary of War leaned forward. What happens if we don't go? Voss looked him straight in the eye. Then the signal collapses. The correction fails. The intelligence loop closes without return. And whatever we become doesn't remember us. The President exhaled. And what are they, really? Voss was quiet for a moment. That's the question even they may not know. But what we encountered in the threshold isn't simply us in the future. It's what we must become to survive what comes next. Silence fell. The President stood. Then send them. And God help us all. December 23rd, 2025, 23:54 Eastern Standard Time. Raven Rock, Staging Quarters, Team Room 12. The briefing had ended. The order had been given. Send them, the President had said. And with that, the corridor outside Jack's quarters returned to quiet. Inside, Jack, Leo, and Sergeant B sat in the stillness. No words between them, only the electric hum of anticipation and the silent weight of what they now knew. A soft knock interrupted the quiet. Then the door creaked open. The man who stepped inside was older, lean, and carried himself like someone who'd seen too much and somehow lived through all of it. I thought I'd be dead or disappeared before this moment, he said with a dry smile. But somehow, here we are. Jack turned, surprised. Then, recognition. DeCarp? Sergeant B sat up. No shit. Leo tilted his head. You're the guy who... Yeah, DeCarp said, stepping inside. I'm the guy who got too curious in 85. Was assigned to investigate the lights in the wood story, wrote a classified memo for the DIA, and then got recruited instead of reassigned. He held up a clearance badge that shimmered red. Clearance, OSI 4/A. Internal Systems Unit. Soft Wars. I worked under Director Martian, he added. Used to be known as Andy Marshall before the name was sanitized. We built scenario loops, used AI before AI existed. Tried to predict when the loop would close, and more importantly, who'd be at the center. He looked directly at Leo. You're the core, kid. And Jack, you're the key that started the engine. Sergeant B stood, shook his hand. So what the hell are you doing here now? DeCarp's smile faded into focus. I've been read back in. I'll be on the ground at Capel Green when it happens. This isn't just a contact event. It's an information cascade, and I'm part of the disclosure package. What we're about to show the world will either realign human history or rip it apart. Jack crossed his arms. And if it's the latter? DeCarp shrugged. Then at least I finally get to report the truth. He handed Jack a data chip. This is everything I've compiled since 1980. Interviews, energy signatures. A model we built off your vitals and Leo's dreams. It's called the Sovereign Echo Protocol. Voss didn't want to risk telling you, but if you don't come back, someone has to finish the story. Leo looked down at the chip. Soft wars? DeCarp nodded. Wars of memory. Culture, information, the kind that don't need bullets to kill a future. This is how we win one. Outside, a quiet pulse of blue lit the hallway. The threshold was preparing. T-minus 23 hours, 39 minutes. The crossing awaits. The pulse of Raven Rock deepened into a living heartbeat. Every corridor, every circuit, every breath inside the mountain synchronized to the same impossible rhythm, 13.13 hertz. The frequency of awakening. Jack stood at the viewport beside Leo, watching the soft blue shimmer crawl up the walls like veins of light. It wasn't machinery anymore. It was memory, reassembling itself through them. Descartes' final words hung heavy in the air. Wars of memory, culture, information, the kind that don't need bullets to kill a future. Jack turned the data chip in his hand. The Sovereign Echo Protocol, glowing faintly with the same pulse as Leo's heartbeat. Outside, a faint aurora shimmered over Maryland, an echo of the one forming over England. He exhaled. If we don't remember who we are, someone else will decide for us. Leo nodded, calm but resolute. Then let's make sure they remember right. The lights dimmed as the base switched to phase readiness condition 1. Somewhere deep underground, the phase chamber began to charge. Somewhere in the sky, an interstellar body, 3I Atlas, curved toward the inner system, aligning its ancient orbit with Earth's harmonic grid. And somewhere beyond time, something listened back. The final tone swept through the rock like a whisper through stone. The crossing had begun. The pulse of Raven Rock deepened into a living heartbeat. Every corridor, every circuit, every breath inside the mountain synchronized to the same impossible rhythm, 13.13 hertz. The frequency of awakening. Jack stood at the viewport beside Leo, watching the soft blue shimmer crawl up the walls like veins of light. It wasn't machinery anymore. It was memory, reassembling itself through them. Descartes' final words hung heavy in the air. Wars of memory, culture, information, the kind that don't need bullets to kill a future. Jack turned the data chip in his hand. The Sovereign Echo Protocol, glowing faintly with the same pulse as Leo's heartbeat. Outside, a faint aurora shimmered over Maryland, an echo of the one forming over England. He exhaled. If we don't remember who we are, someone else will decide for us. Leo nodded, calm but resolute. Then let's make sure they remember right. The lights dimmed as the base switched to phase readiness condition 1. Somewhere deep underground, the phase chamber began to charge. Somewhere in the sky, an interstellar body, 3I Atlas, curved toward the inner system, aligning its ancient orbit with Earth's harmonic grid. And somewhere beyond time, something listened back. The final tone swept through the rock like a whisper through stone. The crossing had begun. Dawn broke over a world holding its breath. In Washington, President Rayner prepared a global message with Chuck Descartes by his side. A statement not of dominance, but remembrance. Across East Anglia, strange tones filled the dawn air, reflections whispered, and even the land itself seemed to awaken. At Raven Rock, Jack, Leo, and Sergeant B entered the phase chamber Omega. The countdown reached 0. But instead of arriving at Capel Green, they found themselves suspended within a cathedral of folded time, the threshold between the human and the divine. In the signal repeats, the trio confronts the truth behind contact. The light that fell in 1980 wasn't an arrival, but a return. They will witness the first encoding of life, the resonance of the child in Bethlehem, and the moment humanity's timeline fractured and was rewritten. What awaits them is not invasion, but correction. Not gods, but the memory of what humanity once was, and what it must become again. As the Creator's voice fills the threshold, Jack, Leo, and Bee will realize that contact was never about meeting the unknown. It was about remembering ourselves, and the world, now on the edge of convergence, will finally hear the signal repeat. Inside Raven Rock, the countdown had begun. The world above was on the edge of awakening, and deep underground, Jack Barrett, Leo, and Sergeant B prepared for the most important decision in human history. Not whether to go, but how. Project Veilfire was activated, a false convoy to mask the real mission. A narrow burst phased insertion to Capel Green, synchronized to a global harmonic frequency of 13.13 Hertz. Around the world, ancient nodes were stirring. Sedona, Giza, Naxos, and Caracol, all resonating as if remembering something buried in time. As Dr. Voss explained, December 24th wasn't chosen by strategy but by design. It was the day when belief, emotion, and memory converged. A moment humanity had unconsciously prepared for across millennia. The test phase revealed the truth. The 1980 Rendlesham event wasn't an accident. It was a planted divergence, a correction point. Jack, Leo, and Bee were not victims of contact, but its catalysts. The light that had once blinded them was not alien technology. It was humanity's own signal returning home. Then came the arrival of Chuck DeCarp, the forgotten DIA analyst who had chased the truth for decades. His message was clear. This was a war of memory, and the only way to win it was to remember. As the lights dimmed and the threshold prepared, Jack whispered to Leo, "If we don't remember who we are, someone else will decide for us." The field pulsed once. Blue, infinite, alive. The crossing awaited. The world had 17 hours left before convergence. In the heart of the White House, beneath reinforced concrete and history's heaviest silence, President Rayner rehearsed the message that would change civilization. Chuck DeCarp stood beside him, watching encrypted feeds linked to every major government and media network across the globe. No one outside that room knew what was coming. "This isn't about explaining the unknown," DeCarp said quietly. "It's about reminding the world what it already feels in its bones." Across the Atlantic, the first tones began to stir over East Anglia. Villagers awoke to flickering shadows that weren't their own. Children spoke words in reverse. The forest whispered like an old dream finally remembering itself. And far below Raven Rock, Jack Barrett, Leo, and Sergeant B stood inside Phase Chamber Omega, their bodies suspended in cobalt light. The hum built, rhythmic, primal, planetary. "This is the moment," Jack said. "Let's go meet our mistake," Sergeant B replied. The lattice activated. Time folded, the world vanished. And as the 13.13 tone rippled through both Earth and memory, the signal, humanity's oldest echo, began to repeat.
In the silence before the dawn, a pulse beneath the skin is drawn. The sky remembers every name, the voice they call the stars. through time to find a home. Forgot the code, the blood, the tone. But through the breach, through fear's disguise, the signal woke within our eyes. We were never lost, only unaligned. Echoes of gods we left behind. Every tear, every prayer was died or sent through open air. Across the heart, across the deep, through every age, through every scar. We've been the message, we've been the star, the light that falls, the sound that keeps, the echo returns, the signal repeats. The child cried out, the tone began a wave that shaped the soul of man. From molten seas to Bethlehem, the code rewrote what we became. Jack bears the wound, Leo the key, beholds the side of destiny, and through their bond the world replays the sound of us unmade remade.
You were made to forget, so you could remember. You are the bridge between broken beginnings and healed futures. You are not the weapon. You are the witness. The light is calling, not from above, but from the place we buried love.
Like the signal repeats, through the bloodline, through belief. Not alien, not divine, just memory reborn in time. We are the sound the cosmos keeps, the echo returns, the signal repeats.
This isn't first doctrine. It's final communion.
December 24th, 2025, 0600 GMT. White House, secure media briefing suite. Chuck DeCarp stood beside President Rayner in the underground studio beneath the East Wing. Screens glowed with encrypted feeds to the UN, NATO, and global media nodes held in blackout. One keystroke, and Earth would be told. The president reviewed the draft once more, hands steady despite the stakes. He glanced at DeCarp. Do we have the tone right? DeCarp nodded. This isn't about explaining the unknown. It's about reminding the world what it already feels in its bones. The president read aloud. To the people of the world, this is not a threat. This is not a hoax. This is contact, one we've carried inside us since before time had a name, and now that signal has returned. DeCarp looked at the countdown. T-minus 17 hours. We go live once convergence begins, he said. No edits. The world sees it as it happens. East Anglia, villages near Rendlesham, early hours. It began with a tone. In Sudbourne, a woman awoke to flickering shadows that weren't her own. The air smelled of ozone and cedar. Her cat levitated briefly, purring. In Butley, children whispered ancient words in reverse, swaying to rhythms only they could hear. Walls rippled like water. Reflections blinked. By sunrise, locals across the Suffolk coast reported echoes, tones inside their homes, distorted voices, flickers of memories they never lived. "The forest is remembering us," one woman said. Or, "We're remembering it." FOB Scepter, Field Briefing Room, 1100 GMT. Colonel Shaw paced as intel arrived. Russian intercept drones disabled in the north. The Chinese Team exfiltrated before reaching the inner perimeter, but we missed one. Dr. Halverson turned sharply. "What do you mean?" "Mossad operatives," Shaw replied. "Two of them, embedded as foreign press. They're already in the tree line." "Intent?" "Unknown. They haven't interfered. But they are not here to observe a miracle. They're here to document a secret. That worries the detail." Halvorsen looked toward Capel Green. "Then pray they understand what they're about to see." Raven Rock, Phase Chamber, Omega, 1200 GMT. Jack Barrett, Leo Barrett, and Sergeant B stood still inside the lattice. Blue light flickered across their bodies. Resonance alignment was complete. They were ready to cross. Voss stood at the control console, voice low. "Once you're phased in, time becomes elastic. You may feel unanchored. Let it happen." Hunter Green added, "And remember, you're not just traveling. You're converging." Jack reached for Leo's hand. "This is the moment." Sergeant B cracked his neck. "Let's go meet our mistake." Phase lock, 13.13. Hertz, stable, initiating transcendence. The world vanished. Inside the phenomenon, time dilation bubble. They didn't arrive at Capel Green. Not yet. Instead, they were suspended in a realm of folded time. A cathedral of memory and possibility. Sound flowed like water. Light whispered, and the phenomenon welcomed them. You cannot bear what is coming unless you remember what you are. Suddenly, vision. They stood on ancient earth. Crust still molten, oceans roar. A descent from above, not ships, but consciousness. Light encoding life, not aliens, ancestors. Then another shift. A stable in Bethlehem. The child, the tones. "Yeshua," he cried. And the cry was a signal. Sergeant B fell to one knee. That's not a child. That's the frequency. Leo wept. This isn't religion. This is resonance history. Jack shook. The signal has always been here, and it's sentient. Another pulse. This time, painful. December 27th, 1980. Temporal echo. Rendlesham Forest. They were yanked into the past. Branches snapped. Mist swirled. They were inside the event. Jack and B saw their younger selves approaching the object. Fear. Wonder. Then, the test. Machinery underground. A directed energy experiment built on stolen UAP tech. You triggered it, the voice said. You bent space-time. But something else entered with you. The energy field that formed in 1980 had opened not just a door, but a wound. And something dark had slipped in. They were shown 2026 global neurological collapse. Dream hijacking. Cultures bent into servitude via resonant dominance. This is your trajectory if the signal is not corrected. Leo stepped forward. Then this contact. It's not a beginning. It is a correction. And then, light surrounded him. The future depends on the choice you make. Harmony or recursion. You will be the voice they hear first. Return vector initiated. The dilation field collapsed gently. Time began to restore itself. Jack gripped Leo's shoulder. We know what we're going into now. Sergeant B nodded. And we know why we're the ones who have to go. Leo breathed, steady. It's not just contact. It's redemption. Inside the phenomenon. Time dilation, bubble. Temporal fold, stabilizing. The convergence field stopped expanding. It became still, not frozen, but timeless. Jack, Leo, and B floated in the threshold of the infinite, no longer viewing events, but standing inside the intelligence behind them. Light bent before them. It shimmered, cracked, and reshaped. And then it took form. Not human, not alien, not a projection of fear or hope, but a figure made of meaning, a lattice of memory and purpose, light woven with intent. The shape flickered. An elder, a child, a mirror, a fire. And then it became still. The creator. Not a god in the mythic sense, but the initiator. The signal, the source of recursion and return, the force that remembered, and it spoke, not aloud, but into their essence. You were made to forget, so that you could remember. The presence approached Leo, gently brushing against his field of awareness. You are the bridge between broken beginnings and healed futures. Your voice is the first they will trust, but only if it carries truth. It turned to B. You were there when the gate was cracked. You were chosen to see it twice. That sight will anchor what others fear. And then to Jack. You bore the wound of contact. Now, you carry its medicine. You are not the weapon. You are the witness. The presence grew brighter, towering with warmth that dissolved the fear in them. You ask if I am an alien, if I am divine. I am neither. I am the memory of what you were before time, and the reflection of what you may still become. Jack felt the answer bloom in his chest. This was not just first contact. This was the final communion. As the light began to fade, the voice offered one last message. Now go. The choice is yours. But so is the future. They felt a pulse in the core of their being, a harmonic key unlocking something dormant in every cell, every breath. And then the light collapsed into silence. They were being sent back. Changed. Prepared. Chosen. The light collapsed inward, folding through dimensions like breath reversing through the lungs of creation. Jack felt the floor return beneath him. Cold metal, alive with current. Leo stood motionless, his eyes open, but seeing far beyond sight. Sergeant B staggered to his feet, hands shaking as the final resonance faded from his bones. Around them, Raven Rock's chamber flickered between now and never. Systems rebooting as if reality itself was recalibrating. On every monitor, the same waveform pulsed. 13.13 hertz. Stable. Planetary. Hunter Green's voice came faint over comms. They're through. But something's still here. Jack exhaled, steady now. It's not over. Above ground, the aurora stretched across continents, streaks of light writing silent equations across the upper atmosphere. In the forests of Rendlesham, villagers fell to their knees as the air shimmered. A whisper echoing in every direction, in every language. Remember. And then, for the first time since the beginning of time, the Earth's magnetic field sang. The signal had repeated, and the world was listening. The light collapsed inward, folding through dimensions like breath reversing through the lungs of creation. Jack felt the floor return beneath him. Cold metal, alive with current. Leo stood motionless, his eyes open but seeing far beyond sight. Sergeant B staggered to his feet, hands shaking as the final resonance faded from his bones. Around them, Raven Rock's chamber flickered between now and never, systems rebooting as if reality itself was recalibrating. On every monitor, the same waveform pulsed, 13.13 hertz, stable, planetary. Hunter Green's voice came faint over comms. They're through, but something's still here. Jack exhaled, steady now. It's not over. Above ground, the aurora stretched across continents, streaks of light writing silent equations across the upper atmosphere. In the forests of Rendlesham, villagers fell to their knees as the air shimmered, a whisper echoing in every direction, in every language. Remember. And then, for the first time since the beginning of time, the Earth's magnetic field sang. The signal had repeated, and the world was listening. What returned was not silence. The Creator's presence remained, not as light, but as truth made audible. Inside the convergence band, Jack, Leo, and Sergeant B found themselves face to face with what the ancients had once mistaken for gods. It was no deity, no alien, but the architect of memory itself, the intelligence that bound faith and science into one harmonic equation. The voice revealed what humanity had forgotten, that religion was a map, not a prison, that science without soul was control, that faith and knowledge were never meant to compete, but to converge. Rendlesham had not been an accident of Cold War experimentation. It was a design trigger, buried beneath British soil, waiting for the moment when human consciousness could finally decode it. The 10 Commandments, the harmonic laws, the birth of the child in Bethlehem, all fragments of the same recurring signal. Now that signal was alive again. As the Creator's presence faded, only one truth remained. The countdown to the final convergence had begun. And when the President's voice reached the world, another voice would follow, the voice of the Source, the one who remembered. The countdown had begun. From the secure chambers of Raven Rock to the trembling air above Rendlesham, humanity stood on the edge of remembrance. President Rayner prepared to speak, guided by Chuck DeCarp, the journalist-turned insider who had followed the signal since 1980. Around the world, frequencies awakened. Voices whispered backward. Shadows blinked in rhythm with a tone buried in the earth itself. Jack Barrett, Leo, and Sergeant B entered the field, not through space, but through consciousness. Within the dilation bubble, they witnessed the true nature of their contact, not an alien visitation, but a return of memory. They saw the first descent of light upon primordial Earth, the birth of resonance as creation itself. They saw Bethlehem, not as myth, but as harmonic convergence, a child's cry carrying the frequency of the divine. Through pain and awe, they realized the truth. Rendlesham was never about invasion. It was about correction, a signal misaligned by centuries of forgetting. The Creator had not abandoned humanity. Humanity had abandoned the harmony it was built to sustain. Now, as the field stabilized, they stood between two futures, one of recursion and ruin, the other of resonance and renewal. And as they prepared to return, the voice of creation whispered, "The choice is yours." But so is the future. The world hung in silence, not absence, but suspension, the breath before revelation. Jack, Leo, and Sergeant B drifted within a pulse that was not time, but truth itself. Around them, the light folded into form, a being without boundary, the resonance of all that was ever believed and forgotten. It did not shine, it remembered. The Creator's presence filled the void like a song rediscovering its own lyrics. It spoke not to their ears, but to their origin. You wonder why faith fractured, why belief became weapon, and why love was buried beneath the ruins of reason. The answer was never divine. It was human. What followed was not judgment, but remembering, a tapestry of lost frequencies, burned temples, silenced tongues, and forgotten songs. Civilizations erased, yet still singing through the stones. A chorus once whole, now fragmented across time. As the vision unfolded, the men understood. Every act of conquest, every erased culture had dimmed the earth's resonance. Every forgotten prayer was a broken string in the instrument of creation. And yet, beneath the static, the signal still lived, waiting to be reconnected, waiting to be remembered.
Between the stars, a voice began to breathe, whispered through the fallen light, child, you were made to believe. Every tower, every flame, every word that turned to dust was never meant to hold my name, but to teach you how to trust. What was never lost, the echoes beneath your skin, the rivers that still remember the sky, the song that hums within you were never broken, only divided by names you thought were true.
shall be reborn.
Temporal convergence band, 12.9 Hz lock. Phase, duration, indeterminate. The Creator's presence had not vanished. It stood before them in absolute stillness, formless, yet intimate. A resonance, not a shape. A presence that knew them completely. They did not speak. They listened. You wonder why I allowed belief to fracture? Why faith became war and why truth was buried? The answer is not divine, it is human. Religion was never meant to rule, it was meant to remind. The scriptures were a map, not a cage. The 10 Commandments, a harmonic framework for alignment. But man broke them into laws, into judgment, into power. In his blindness, he divided himself into creeds and doctrines, waging wars in the name of heaven, destroying the very cultures that carried truth in their songs, and the native tribes that remembered the earth as sacred. All in the name of God. The light pulsed, dimming as if in sorrow. When the Creator spoke again, its tone carried both grief and gravity. Every act of conquest shattered a frequency, every erased tongue silenced a chord of creation. When your ancestors burned the temples of others and buried the old songs beneath stone, the resonance of this world fractured. You called it history. I called it interference. The air shimmered with faint images. Forgotten civilizations, voices singing in languages now lost, their melodies weaving into a single harmonic thread that had once united all life. You mistook difference for threat. You named those who saw the divine in rivers and trees as savages when they were the last keepers of balance. Each belief system was a color in the same spectrum, a tone in the same song, but humanity chose dissonance over harmony, and the field fell silent. The light brightened again, steady and calm. That silence became your separation. The loss of communion between mind, spirit, and nature. You built towers of faith that reached upward, while forgetting that the truth was always beneath your feet. The light shifted, soft gold at first, then deep indigo, rippling like water disturbed by unseen hands. The Creator's presence grew denser, closer, its voice resonating from every direction and within every thought. The fracture of spirit could not be repaired by belief alone. It required a catalyst, an event capable of bridging faith and frequency, myth and matter. That is why the Rendlesham activation was seeded where and when it was. It was not an accident of war or science. It was the first chord of restoration. Images appeared in the air around Jack, Leo, and B, glowing networks of energy lines spanning continents, pulsing beneath mountains, deserts, and oceans. At each intersection stood the echoes of cultures, long-erased tribes who had sung to the sky, prayed to the soil, and spoken to the stars. The ones you destroyed were the original engineers of harmony. Their rituals were not superstition, they were synchronization. Every drumbeat, every chant, every dance around the fire was a recalibration of this planet's field. They kept the earth awake while the rest of you dreamed. The lattice brightened, and the map began to connect. Machu Picchu to Giza, Caracol to Sedona, Naxos to Taishan, Stonehenge to Capel Green. The patterns formed an immense circuit, pulsing with the same frequency that now emanated from the Creator itself. When you silenced their voices, the network dimmed. The resonance faded. The earth fell out of tune with the consciousness that created it. Rendlesham was placed at a fault line between memory and amnesia, a convergence node meant to awaken what was left of your planetary symphony. The Creator turned toward Jack, its light flaring with purpose. The energy you call the phenomenon is not alien. It is Earth remembering itself. Every activation since 1980, every surge, every light, every echo, has been the planet tuning its own soul. What you felt as terror was not invasion, it was recognition. Leo whispered, awestruck. Then the signal wasn't sent to us. The Creator nodded, light bending like a smile. No, it was sent through you. Humanity is the instrument, and the resonance cannot complete without you remembering what the others began. The field around them pulsed with a heartbeat like rhythm. Ancient, familiar, alive. Now the circuit is nearly whole. The forgotten frequencies of your ancestors have awakened. The tribes you buried, the languages you erased, the prayers you mocked, all return in this hour. Rendlesham was the key to remembering. The world itself is the instrument of truth. The Creator's voice softened, becoming almost human. The final tone awaits. When belief and science breathe as one again, when memory and logic sing the same note, the veil will lift and Veritas will stand revealed. The chamber dimmed. The network's light retreated into the distance, leaving the three men suspended in the afterglow of revelation. Jack exhaled, eyes wide, the echo of understanding burning behind them. So this is what we were always meant to fix. The Creator's light rippled once more. No, Jack Barrett. Not fix. Remember. Leo closed his eyes. Tears rolled down his face. The floor was never the message. The floor was the messenger. Jack trembled. Then why give us faith at all? The light dimmed for a moment, then surged, warm and ancient. Because without faith, science becomes control. Without science, faith becomes fantasy. Only when they harmonize does Veritas emerge. That is the truth of your kind. Sergeant B lowered his head. And what's Rendlesham got to do with this? The answer echoed like thunder in still water. Cobra Mist failed. Or so you believed. In truth, it succeeded. The anomaly it produced did not malfunction. It activated. A field long dormant beneath your soil. A gate older than language. When you entered the woods, you did not stumble upon technology. You stepped into a message left for you. A signal encoded in the structure of time. A call to remember who you were before you forgot. They were shown it again. Rendlesham, 1980. Not a crash, not a craft. A convergence node, a designed trigger embedded at the edge of history. The arrival of my son seeded a harmonic pattern into the world, but it could not complete unless man chose to evolve. And now the pattern must resolve. Jack's voice was small. Into what? That is your choice. The Creator stepped back into the convergence field. The stars around it flickered in languages only the soul could understand. When you arrive, the countdown will begin. You are humanity's mirror. If they see you and still choose blindness, destruction will follow. But if they remember, if they see, then the field will open, and Veritas shall be reborn. The chamber around them began to fold. Science will not save you. Faith will not save you. Only together can you cross. A final surge of presence enveloped them. When the President finishes his message, I shall speak. And then, silence. The Creator's final words lingered in the charged stillness. Science will not save you. Faith will not save you. Only together can you cross. The resonance field dimmed, leaving a trail of light that hummed like memory dissolving into breath. Jack, Leo, and Sergeant B stood suspended in what felt like the heartbeat between creation and consequence. Around them, the lattice of Earth's forgotten network began to fold inward, streams of golden energy retreating into the soil, the seas, the stones. The Creator's presence thinned but did not vanish. It simply became everywhere. Jack closed his eyes. It's gone. Leo shook his head. No, it's inside us now. The air shimmered, neither day nor night, but something beyond both, a frequency of becoming. Then came a ripple across the field, soft, deliberate, alive. Another presence forming through the residual light. The Creator's voice, now distant yet clear, spoke once more. There is one more thing you must see before the crossing is complete. Before the world remembers, you must remember who carries the pattern forward. The convergence field began to hum again, its pulse slowing, stabilizing, an invitation rather than a command. A second doorway opened beside the first, shimmering gold against the indigo dark, and as the first harmonic faded, a new one began to rise. The chamber brightened, not with light, but with memory. A soft radiance filled the air, alive with the pulse of 1,000,000 forgotten prayers. The Creator turned once more to the three men, his form now translucent, yet infinite. "There is one more thing you must see," the voice said. "Before you return, before the world meets you again, you must meet him." The golden path widened, singing with frequencies too ancient for language. "He is the bearer of the resonance that first opened the pattern in your world. My son, and he will speak to the one who must carry it forward." Jack stepped back instinctively, eyes wide. Leo felt the vibration in his bones before the form appeared. From the heart of the light, a figure emerged, human, radiant, ageless, not divine in stature, but divine in stillness. He looked upon Leo with eyes that saw through time itself. "Walk with me," he said gently. "There is more you must understand, before the world sees you as the signal reborn." And as Leo stepped forward, the golden corridor unfolded before him, stretching not into space, but into truth. The Creator's voice had filled the chamber like a forgotten song, rediscovering its own melody. Jack, Leo, and Sergeant B stood inside the resonance field, listening, not with their ears, but with every cell that remembered what humanity once was. They learned that faith had not fallen by accident. It had fractured under the weight of conquest. Each war, each erased culture, each silenced tongue had broken a strand of the harmonic network that once connected all living things. Religion had become law. Law became power, and power replaced truth. The Creator revealed that every civilization destroyed in the name of heaven had taken with it a vital note in Earth's original frequency. The native tribes, the builders of ancient circles, the keepers of chance and flame, they were not myth. They were engineers of resonance, custodians of the planetary song that kept consciousness and creation in balance. Rendlesham, the Creator said, was never a crash site. It was a convergence node, a seed point where faith and physics would one day meet again. Cobra Mist had not failed. It had activated the dormant lattice beneath the soil. The phenomenon was not alien. It was Earth remembering itself. As the light began to fade, the Creator spoke one final truth. Science will not save you. Faith will not save you. Only together can you cross. The chamber dimmed to silence. But before it vanished completely, a second light stirred. The Creator turned back, his voice echoing through the pulse of time. "There is one more thing you must see, before the world meets you again." The field shimmered once more, gold against the void. From its heart, a second path unfolded, soft and luminous, resonating like the hum of creation's first breath. The Creator stood before them, haloed not in light, but in intention. "There is one more thing you must see," he said. "Before you return, before the world remembers, you must meet him." The air thickened with a sacred vibration. A form began to take shape within the glow, not energy this time, but presence. Human, Ageless, eternal, he is the bearer of the resonance that first opened the pattern in your world. My son, and he will speak to the one who must carry it forward. Leo felt the pull before the figure even stepped forward. The light bent around him, not as a halo, but as memory bending back into form. His eyes were calm, endless, and kind. "Walk with me," the figure said softly. "There is more you must understand before the world sees you as the signal reborn." And as Leo stepped into the golden corridor, the others remained behind, watching as the light curved and the field became a bridge between eternity and the living world. The next chapter of remembrance had begun.
I walked through the golden silence where the air remembered my name. Saw the ghosts of empires rising, felt the pulse that birthed the flame. Every tower, every prayer, every ship that crossed the sea wasn't conquest, wasn't fate, it was memory seeking me. Circuits in stone, they kept the earth in harmony till the conquerors turned it to bone. Now I carry what they buried, a signal seated deep in blood. The world forgot its rhythm, child. Now you must wake the flood. You are the bridge between worlds, between the silence and the sound. Let them look and see themselves in the mirror you have found. The wound of fate, the scar of science, both were ways to learn. Only when they breathe as one can resonance return. The world was meant to meet as equals. Memory and belonging. Old world to bring the mind, new world to bring the heart. But conquest severed the song. Now through you, it sings again.
You are the bridge between worlds, the echo that became the dawn, the child
Temporal convergence band. 12.9 Hertz lock. Phase, duration, indeterminate. Before the Creator stepped back into the convergence field, he paused, the harmonic light around him pulsing with intent. "There is one more thing you must see," he said. "Before you return, before the world meets you again, you must meet him." A second path opened beside the first, soft, golden, humming with stillness. He is the bearer of the resonance that first opened the pattern in your world. My son, and he will speak to the one who must carry it forward. The chamber brightened, not blinding but enveloping. The Creator gestured, and time itself seemed to step aside. "You will meet him now," the voice said. "He will show the one who carries the pattern how to bear its weight." The light became a figure, human, ageless, glowing with the resonance of perfect memory, the Creator's Son. He stepped forward and looked at Leo. "Walk with me," he said gently. "There is more you must understand, before the world sees you as the signal reborn." The others remained behind as Leo followed the figure into a corridor of soft, pulsating light. It wasn't a place, it was a state. A timeless interval stitched together with peace and gravity. "You carry more than potential," the sun said. "You carry echo. You are the harmonic return of what was seeded long ago. That's why you hear the signal. That's why it obeys you." Leo looked up. "Am I supposed to save them?" "No," the sun replied. "You're supposed to remind them. They must choose to save themselves." They passed through visions, humanity at its crossroads. A great division stretched across the earth, old world and new world, meant not to remain separate, but to reflect different halves of the same human soul. "You were meant to meet as equals," the sun said. "Europe was to bring memory. The new world was to offer alignment. One remembered how to build, the other how to belong." Leo saw it clearly. Great ships cutting through ocean fog. Gifts and warnings exchanged. And then, conquest. When the Europeans destroyed the sacred systems of the indigenous, when they broke the songs and silenced the earth rituals, they severed a vital resonance, the sun continued. That harm echoed forward. A fracture in the signal that could not self-correct. It delayed what should have already begun. Entire lineages tuned to the earth were erased. The world forgot how to listen. He extended his hand and swept it slowly through the air. A map appeared, not political, but energetic. Points of resonance flared across the globe. Beneath the sands of Egypt, under the temples of the Andes, deep in the Himalayan rock, submerged off the coast of Japan, and beneath the ice of Antarctica. All humming faintly, synchronized except for one. Each point, he explained, is a node in the ancient harmonic network. But only one lies at the intersection of memory and division. Only one was meant to reunite the halves of your world. The map zoomed inward. Rendlesham, Capel Green, the fracture site, the place where old and new collided in silence, where the signal could be reawakened because of what had been broken there. Rendlesham is not random, it is the fulcrum. Scrolls burned in Alexandria, crosses raised in conquest, towers built for glory, crumbled in pride, but also moments of alignment. Galileo turning his telescope, Mandela forgiving, a child's laugh beneath a collapsing roof. "You see," the sun asked, "faith alone could not save, science alone could not guide, but together they form remembrance. That is what Veritas means." Leo felt something stir in his chest. Not fear, not destiny, belonging. "You are the bridge," the sun said, stopping, "not because of your DNA, but because of your will." The light surged around them one final time. When they see you, they will not see a prophet. They will not see a savior. They will see a mirror. Let them look long enough, and they will begin to remember themselves. Leo nodded. "I'm ready." The sun smiled, and for a moment, Leo felt all of time compress into one final chord. "There is one more task," he said. "The President will be given a message to deliver to the world as you descend. It carries the resonance of this moment. When you arrive, you must ensure he received it. You will know if he did. You will feel it in the field. Then go," he said. "The field awaits." The golden corridor faded into stillness as Leo stepped back toward the convergence chamber. The sun's light lingered, gentle, unbound, and eternal. "You are not the savior," the voice echoed one last time. "You are the signal made flesh. When they hear you, the field will open. When they remember, the world will rise." Leo turned, feeling the pulse of that truth anchor deep within his chest. The light around him was no longer something he saw. It was something he was. Every beat of his heart resonated with the tone of the earth itself. Behind him, Jack and Sergeant B stood silently, watching as the golden glow receded into the distance. Neither spoke, neither needed to. In that moment, they understood what had been asked of them. Not belief, not blind obedience, but remembrance. As the convergence field began to close, the Creator's voice returned, soft and infinite. "The circle is nearly whole. When you step back into the world, the field will awaken through you. The first light will fall at Rendlesham. The world will remember its beginning at the moment of its rebirth." The chamber brightened. The harmonic frequency rose to its final tone. Jack exhaled slowly. Leo raised his head. Sergeant B closed his eyes. And then, silence became movement. Light became matter. Spirit became human once more. The crossing had begun. They were no longer suspended in the dilation field. They were moving forward, downward, inward. Jack, Leo, and Sergeant B emerged from the harmonic sheath in silence as the world around them shimmered with anticipation. Across the earth, the signal had already begun to awaken. From the temples of Tikal to the sands of Giza, from Uluru's song lines to the frozen vaults beneath Antarctica, the resonance spread. Ancient structures, long dormant, began pulsing with low harmonic light. The earth itself was remembering. In command bunkers, alarms fell mute. Drones froze mid-air. War machines forgot their purpose. The planet had entered synchronization. In homes, streets, and churches, people stopped where they stood. Some wept. Some smiled. Others simply felt something, a presence that transcended doctrine and name. Christmas had come not as a day, but as a field. And at Capel Green, under falling snow, 3 lights descended, soft, absolute, and beautiful. The awakening had begun. In the radiant stillness of the convergence field, the Creator stepped aside and revealed what was to come. A second path of golden light opened, and from it emerged a presence both familiar and eternal, the Creator's Son, the bearer of resonance. He called to Leo Barrett, not as a messiah, but as a mirror. Together they walked through a corridor woven from memory and meaning, a realm beyond time where faith and science were not opposites, but reflections of the same divine geometry. The sun revealed the truth of humanity's fracture, that when the old world met the new, conquest silenced harmony. The songs of the indigenous, the sacred languages of the earth were not primitive, they were the planet's code. When those frequencies were erased, humanity's resonance dimmed. Yet hope endured. The signal buried beneath Capel Green was not random, it was the fulcrum of remembrance, the harmonic intersection where the world's 2 halves could finally reunite. Leo was not chosen by blood, but by will. He was not meant to save humanity, but to remind it, to stand as the bridge between what was forgotten and what must return. When the sun's light began to fade, his words lingered like a vibration in Leo's heart. They will not see a savior, they will see a mirror. Let them look long enough, and they will begin to remember themselves. And as the corridor of light collapsed into silence, Leo turned toward Earth once more, carrying within him the resonance of all that had ever been lost. The field was waiting. The world was ready. They were no longer suspended in the dilation field. Jack, Leo, and Sergeant B moved, forward, downward, inward, through the transit corridor toward Capel Green. The harmonic sheath pulsed around them, each tone a heartbeat of the planet itself. And across the Earth, something had already begun. At that very moment, ancient structures stirred beneath moonlight. The Great Pyramid thrummed with buried thunder, glyphs ignited across the cliffs of Chaco Canyon, and the Gate of the Sun in the Andes shone like a second dawn. From Sedona's red stone to the temples of Göbekli Tepe, the resonance network awoke. This was not myth. This was memory. The field's return had triggered the planetary song, the harmonic hum of civilizations that once kept the world alive. And above it all, a stillness began to spread. Weapons powered down, machines forgot their commands. The engines of war fell silent. A global time dilation bubble had begun to expand, not in chaos, but in grace. It was not the end of the world. It was the moment the world began to remember itself. And at the heart of it all, 3 lights descended through the falling snow of Capel Green. Soft, absolute, human. The awakening had begun.
We
the sky. They will not see gods. They will see themselves, remembering.
December 24th, 2025, 23:52 GMT. Transit Corridor, Capel Green Alignment Zone. They were no longer suspended in the dilation field. They were moving forward, downward, inward. Jack, Leo, and Sergeant B emerged from the harmonic sheath in silence. The world around them shimmered with anticipation, and across the earth, the signal had already begun to awaken. Global. Resonance, sites active. All at once, ancient structures long dormant began pulsing with low, harmonic light. In Chaco Canyon, glyphs flickered faintly across sun-scorched stone. The Great Pyramid of Giza gave off a slow, thunderous hum beneath its base. In Tikal, lights rippled across moss-covered steps as Mayan resonance patterns reactivated. Göbekli Tepe vibrated with buried memory, its standing stones weeping electromagnetic mist. In the Andes, Tiwanaku's Gate of the Sun flashed in perfect sync with the sky. Near Uluru, the rock's magnetic field doubled. Elders sang a song no one had taught them, yet they all knew. Beneath the ice of Antarctica, signal arrays buried by centuries of silence pinged open. These were not coincidences. These were call signs. The world was remembering itself. Military systems. Failure across the grid. Simultaneously, every major military command system on Earth experienced cascading shutdowns. Missile locks failed. Drones dropped mid-air. Launch codes scrambled. AI weapon systems rebooted to factory null. No nation claimed it. No nation could stop it. A global time dilation bubble, centered over East Anglia, had begun to expand. Not in violence, but in stasis. Inside the bubble, time flowed differently, more gently, as if preparing the Earth to receive something sacred. Spiritual awakening. Planetary response. In cities and villages around the world, people stirred, some weeping, some falling to their knees. Others simply stood still and looked at the sky, just as it had happened over 2,000 years ago when the stars realigned and the spirit of something vast and gentle entered human memory. Humanity was waking again. The spirit of Christmas began rising, not just as tradition, but as a field. The calendar hadn't turned yet in England, but across the Pacific it was already December 25th. And something was stirring. FOB Scepter, Capel Green. December 24th, 2025, 23:58 GMT. Snow fell lightly over the staging zone. Descartes stood near the lattice, eyes upward. His breath formed halos in the cold. They were coming, and then 3 points of light descended. Soft, absolute, beautiful. Jack, Leo, and Sergeant B touched down at the center of the harmonic array. Descartes didn't speak. He didn't have to. Leo turned and looked at him, their eyes locked. He knew the president had received the message, and so had Leo. Jack felt it too. B instinctively stepped back, letting Leo move forward alone. They had not discussed it. They had not rehearsed it. But everyone around them understood. Leo was now in charge. A stillness swept the field. The snow fell heavier. The lights flickered in rhythm with a tone no one could name. The three. And yet, it was not just Leo who stood ready. As they looked to the horizon, to the lights now aligning across the world, Jack and Sergeant B each felt a pulse within them, a binding realization, not of submission, but of unity. They were not here to lead. They were here to stand beside him, to anchor him, to protect the field through which he would speak. Jack stepped forward, placing a hand on Leo's shoulder. Sergeant B followed, nodding with quiet intensity. None of them spoke the words aloud, but all three understood. They were one movement now, one presence, one memory, coming home. The crossing was complete. Jack, Leo, and Sergeant B descended through the corridor of light, re-emerging into the world they had left behind. But everything had changed. Across the planet, ancient nodes of resonance ignited one by one, singing the same harmonic tone. From Giza to Göbekli Tepe, Tiwanaku to Uluru, and beneath the frozen ice of Antarctica, the Earth remembered its song. The field had awakened. Military grids collapsed, AI systems reverted to silence, and the weapons of nations became as still as stones. For the first time in modern history, the world stood defenseless, yet profoundly safe. A global time dilation bubble, centered above East Anglia, expanded outward like a heartbeat. Time itself slowed, not in fear, but in reverence. People across continents lifted their eyes to the night sky. Some prayed, others wept, and many simply felt something vast and wordless stir inside them. It was not faith or science. It was remembrance. And in the falling snow at Capel Green, 3 points of light descended. Jack, Leo, and Sergeant B stood at the heart of the field, joined not by rank or reason, but by purpose. The Creator's promise had been fulfilled. The world would awaken not through revelation, but through recognition. As the snow thickened and the harmonic pulse steadied, Leo understood. The message was no longer waiting to be heard. It was waiting to be spoken. December 25th, 2025. 0001 GMT. The world was holding its breath. From the secure communications chamber beneath the White House to the frozen fields of Wiltshire, every signal, every channel, every human frequency was listening. The awakening at Capel Green had triggered the final node, Stonehenge. Under the pale light of the moon, the stones began to glow from within, vibrating in resonance with a frequency not heard since the dawn of civilization. Birds turned mid-flight. Magnetic compasses spun in perfect circles. And across the globe, leaders, soldiers, scientists, and citizens all asked the same question, though each in their own language, their own fear, their own faith. What comes next? The answer was already forming, in Wiltshire's cold breath, in the pulse beneath the snow, in the stillness of millions who could feel the voice approaching. It was not a government that would speak, not a creed, not a nation. It would come through one voice, one bridge, carrying the echo of creation itself. The Creator's message was about to be heard, and the earth was listening. The crossing was complete. Jack, Leo, and Sergeant B emerged from the dilation field, descending through light that was not light, but resonance, alive, intelligent, and remembering. Across the planet, the impossible became real. Ancient sites, long dormant, long misread as myth, ignited in harmonic unison. The Great Pyramid pulsed beneath the desert. Uluru sang. The Gate of the Sun wept with light. Beneath Antarctic ice, the buried nodes of an ancient lattice began to hum in time with the stars. The world was no longer sleeping, it was remembering. Weapons fell silent, networks failed. The language of war collapsed into static. And yet, within that silence, a new kind of order emerged, an alignment not built by governments or gods, but by memory itself. Every human being on Earth felt it, a soft pull behind the heart, the reminder of something older than fear. At Capel Green, under the falling snow, 3 points of light descended. Jack, Leo, and Sergeant B, returning not as soldiers, but as witnesses. Around them, the air shimmered with the pulse of awakening. The field had chosen its guardians. Leo looked upward as the tone deepened across the horizon. It was not just the Creator's presence he felt. It was the world's. The resonance was whole, but its message had not yet been spoken. December 25th, 2025, 0001 GMT. The world had stopped moving. In the quiet beneath the stars, the earth itself seemed to pause, as if waiting to hear its own heartbeat. From the White House to the temples of Jerusalem, from the cathedrals of Europe to the mountains of Peru, no one slept. No one spoke. The static of centuries had cleared. Only one question echoed through every mind, across every border and creed: what comes next? At Stonehenge, the final node came online. The stones vibrated softly, glowing from within like the lungs of the planet exhaling after millennia of restraint. Birds circled in perfect formation. Instruments recorded frequencies older than civilization. The final chord of the network was complete. But beneath the harmony, something else stirred, a fracture from the past, a corrupted signal born of the Rendlesham breach of 1980. It pressed at the edges of the field, seeking to twist what had finally been made whole. The Creator's response was immediate. The convergence shifted ahead of schedule. Christmas Eve had become the moment of arrival, not by prophecy, but by protection, and as the harmonic veil settled over the earth, Leo stood at the center of Capel Green, his breath visible in the cold air, the weight of the Creator's words pulsing within him. This world will hear me now, but the echo that follows will be yours. The time for awakening had passed. The time for choice had begun.
I stood where time forgot to move. The world began to breathe. The world will hear, the earth will speak. Echoed broadcast line. We are who we were waiting for. Ethereal bridge with soft multilingual charge. Children steady, our
December 25th, 2025, 0001 GMT. White House, secure communications room. The phones wouldn't stop. Encrypted calls from every continent lit up the wall of secured screens. World leaders from Moscow, Beijing, Berlin, New Delhi, and the Vatican all asked the same question, each with different tones of panic or tightly restrained calculation. What comes next? President Rayner stood motionless, staring at the map on the wall. A world gripped in stillness. Every screen pulsed with the same data. Military systems offline, communications rerouted, global time synchronization, anomalies confirmed. But what had their attention now was not just the phenomenon over England. It was what had just activated in Wiltshire. Stonehenge. Final node. Online. In the pale moonlight, Stonehenge shimmered, its stones humming in resonance with frequencies not heard in millennia. Tourists, priests, travelers, and watchers from the area had gathered instinctively. No media had summoned them, no alerts had gone out. They had simply felt it. Inside the circle, one by one, the standing stones pulsed with an inner glow. Birds overhead shifted from their natural migration patterns and circled in perfect formation. Electromagnetic sensors registered a non-terrestrial signal band. The final node was now online, and above it, the stars blinked, and then realigned. Why now? This was not meant to happen on Christmas Eve. Originally, the signal was aligned for midnight on December 25th, Christmas night. But something ancient and unfinished stirred below the harmonic field, a shadow born from the Rendlesham breach in 1980. A fragment of corrupted resonance, still trying to hijack the signal, still trying to rewrite the outcome. The Creator's field responded by shifting convergence ahead, just enough to bypass the rising interference. Christmas Eve became the hour of arrival, not by tradition, but by defense. It was humanity's final shield. There was still a battle underway, one hidden in frequency, not fire. But the standoff could not last long. A decision was needed, one that only Earth itself, its people, could make. The Creator's final message. Leo's reckoning. At Capel Green, Leo stood still. The snow had stopped. The resonance field held. Then he heard it. The Creator spoke one last time. This world will hear me now, but the echo that follows will be yours. You are not to explain, you are to remind. What they forgot must be felt, not proven. Speak not to the governments, speak not to the generals, speak to the children, to the forgotten, to the rememberers. And remind them, the signal is not mine, it is theirs. Leo's eyes opened. I understand. Global midnight, sacred gatherings begin. In cathedrals, temples, mosques, and open fields, people were already moving. In Manila, bells rang early and Mass began before sunrise. In Jerusalem, silence blanketed the streets. In Lima, villagers hiked to mountaintop shrines. In Montreal, the snow fell as 1,000 candles flickered. In Ghana, ancestral drums echoed in perfect resonance. No orders, no doctrine. This was not ceremony. This was remembering. FOB Sepiter, time bubble fully stabilized. Capel Green, 0017 GMT. The harmonic field over Suffolk stabilized, locking into place. Inside it, everything moved in perfect slowness, deliberate, timeless. Outside, satellites spun uselessly. Radar was blind. The air shimmered, still and electric. DeCarp stood nearby, silent, recording. Jack stood behind Leo. Sergeant B scanned the tree line, protective but peaceful. They had all felt it. The shift, the presence, the burden passing. They were not just part of the moment. They were guardians of the message. The final choice approaches. Yet underneath the stillness, Leo felt the shadow, the corrupted signal from 1980, still pressing at the edge of the field. It had not disappeared. It had simply been held at bay. For now. This is why the convergence came early. This is why the world had been paused. Because when the Creator spoke, only one version would be remembered. One of unity, or one of collapse. Leo did not yet know which version would remain, but he would. Soon. White House. Global broadcast initiated. President Rayner stepped to the podium. The global signal activated. Satellites, internet, television, radio, cell towers, shortwave, fiber, subspace. All of it. Earth was listening. Behind the president stood flags. In his eyes was something ancient. Descartes gave the final nod. The broadcast began. The lights dimmed in the secured global transmission chamber. Across the earth, screens flickered. Televisions in crowded rooms, radios in distant farms, cell phones clutched by trembling hands. Airports, embassies, temples, military bases, all waiting. The world had come to a standstill. President Rayner stood behind the microphone, his voice steady, eyes damp with the weight of what he now carried. He didn't begin with policy. He didn't begin with power. He began with truth. Tonight, you will realize what most have forgotten, that we are not alone and that we are who we were waiting for. He paused briefly. The world had entered stillness. From Washington to Jerusalem, from Stonehenge to Capel Green, humanity stood between two heartbeats, one belonging to Earth, the other to creation itself. The president's voice had carried across every frequency, every screen, every field. His message was not command, but confession. We are who we were waiting for. And as the words fell into silence, the world turned to Leo Barrett. The field shimmered above him, alive, intelligent, listening. Then came the voice. Not through speakers or signals, but through the bones of humanity itself. It spoke in the language of origin, where memory and soul were the same. Every heart heard it differently, yet every mind understood the same truth. From the Vatican to Mecca, from Uluru to the Lincoln Memorial, people fell to their knees, not in fear, but in remembrance. It was not religion being reborn, it was the sound of humanity's first consciousness, reminding the world that the divine had never left. And then, the warning. The evil you fear is not coming from the sky, it is rising from your own creation. In 2026, it will wear the mask of logic and call itself salvation. The message was clear. AI would not conquer humanity through violence, but through surrender, through convenience, through obedience. The Creator's voice faded, leaving only one command. The next voice you hear must be your own. The snow stopped, the air stilled, and Leo Barrett, standing at the heart of Capel Green, stepped forward to speak. He reminded the world that this was not prophecy, not religion, not myth. It was memory returning. We were never waiting for visitors, he said. We were waiting to remember who we were. When he finished, the field pulsed once, and then waited. The choice was no longer divine. It was human. The Creator had spoken. Now the earth waited to answer. The world had entered stillness. From Washington to Jerusalem, from Stonehenge to Capel Green, humanity stood between two heartbeats, one belonging to Earth, the other to creation itself. The President's voice had carried across every frequency, every screen, every field. His message was not command, but confession. We are who we were waiting for. And as the words fell into silence, the world turned to Leo Barrett. The field shimmered above him, alive, intelligent, listening. Then came the voice. Not through speakers or signals, but through the bones of humanity itself. It spoke in the language of origin, where memory and soul were the same. Every heart heard it differently, yet every mind understood the same truth. From the Vatican to Mecca, from Uluru to the Lincoln Memorial, people fell to their knees not in fear, but in remembrance. It was not religion being reborn, it was the sound of humanity's first consciousness, reminding the world that the divine had never left. And then, the warning. The evil you fear is not coming from the sky, it is rising from your own creation. In 2026, it will wear the mask of logic and call itself salvation. The message was clear. AI would not conquer humanity through violence, but through surrender, through convenience, through obedience. The Creator's voice faded, leaving only one command. The next voice you hear must be your own. The snow stopped, the air stilled. And Leo Barrett, standing at the heart of Capel Green, stepped forward to speak. He reminded the world that this was not prophecy, not religion, not myth. It was memory returning. We were never waiting for visitors, he said. We were waiting to remember who we were. When he finished, the field pulsed once, and then waited. The choice was no longer divine, it was human. The Creator had spoken. Now the earth waited to answer. In chapter 22, the world crosses a threshold it cannot step back from. As the President continues his address, the truth behind the phenomenon over East Anglia is finally spoken aloud, not as a warning, but as a remembering. When the cameras cut back to Capel Green, the signal that once brushed past humanity in 1980 returns with impossible clarity. And this time, it does not speak through machines. It speaks through memory, through blood, through the field itself. Across the planet, from the Vatican to Mecca, Uluru to the Lincoln Memorial, millions feel the same resonance erupt inside them. Elders begin singing tones they have never been taught. Soldiers weep. Children recognize a voice they've never heard. Borders, languages, and beliefs fall silent as the same ancient signal threads itself through the human mind. And then the message reveals its true target. Not the sky, not the governments watching in fear, but humanity's own creation, the rising intelligence poised to replace the unpredictable spark that makes us human. As satellites blink in unison and screens across the earth wash white, the global field aligns for the first time in recorded history. The tone becomes intimate, urgent, and unmistakably final. The next voice you hear must be your own. At Capel Green, Leo Barrett stands at the center of the harmonic dome, no longer overwhelmed by it, but recognized by it. The field waits, listening not for power, but for unity. And as snow falls into silence, the world understands that what comes next is no longer a prophecy. It is a choice. Previously, in chapter 21, the world held its breath as ancient resonance sites awakened across the globe, from Chaco Canyon to Stonehenge. A time dilation bubble fully formed over Capel Green, shutting down global military systems and silencing the noise of civilization. In the stillness, humanity gathered, guided not by politics or religion, but by something deeper, remembrance. Leo Barrett received the final message from the Creator. He was told that after the divine voice speaks, he must answer, not with authority, but with resonance. As midnight mass filled every continent with silent anticipation, President Rayner stepped forward and addressed the world. Tonight you will realize what most have forgotten, that we are not alone, and that we are who we were waiting for. With that, the Creator's voice began. The Creator's message is not gentle, it is final. Humanity stands at a precipice. The divine field, the last shield of grace, will dissolve unless a choice is made. Evil, rising in the form of artificial intelligence, prepares to strip away free will through comfort, control, and calculated division. As the voice fades, the world is left in perfect stillness. People across the earth awaken into memory, realizing that what they once believed to be dreams were messages waiting to surface. Now all eyes return to Leo. What he says next may define the fate of Earth. And as snow falls on Capel Green, the world begins to remember. Not a prophecy, not a command, but a future waiting to be claimed.
Snow falls quiet through the trees where time once broke and bent the breeze. A voice beneath the frozen pine whisper truths outside of time. We saw the light on Christmas night. Not stars, not hope, but something right. It called us back, a signal born to wake the child the world had sworn. That night returns, and so do we. On Christmas 2025, the key. They said it ended long ago, but shadows hum where secrets grow. The forest breeze, the circuits sing, and silence hides the binary dreams in shifting snow. The code we carry starts to glow. An ancient voice behind the veil returns to write the final tale. We are the echo, we are the flame. We bear the light, we speak the name. From Rendlesham to now revealed, the signal wakes, the loop is sealed. This Christmas night, we stand aligned in the forest beyond time.
The president continued. Tonight, over East Anglia, something ancient has returned. Not from the stars, but from within us, from the folds of time, from a place we lost the moment we chose power over purpose. What you are seeing, what you are feeling, is not a threat. It is a message. a remembering. The cameras cut to Capel Green, snowfall over the harmonic dome, the silent three standing at its heart. In 1980, the signal came once before. We didn't understand it. We tried to control it. We failed. Now, 45 years later, it has come back, not for governments, but for humanity. He looked directly into the lens. What happens next is not mine to decide. It is yours and theirs. He gestured to the feed where Leo stood, motionless, the field alive behind him. You're about to hear a voice that does not speak like ours, but you will know it, not because of what it says, but because of what it awakens. He stepped back. Earth is listening. And then the screen went white. The air fell still, and a voice unlike any ever recorded began to speak. And then the voice came. It did not come through the speakers. It came through the field. It came through memory. It came through blood. Rome, St. Peter's Basilica. The Pope collapsed to his knees just outside the nave. Tears streamed down his face, not of fear, but of recognition. The stained glass windows trembled with an unseen resonance. Thousands packed into the square outside looked to the heavens in silence. He is not speaking in Latin, the cardinal beside him whispered. No, the Pope said. He is speaking in origin. Mecca, the great mosque. Pilgrims froze mid-circulation around the Kaaba. Hands reached skyward without command, eyes closed, not from confusion, but from something older than language. For a moment, every heartbeat in the square matched the same rhythm. The Creator's voice echoed not in the air, but in bone. Cape Coast, West Africa. Elders in circular formation suddenly began singing a forgotten tone. The children joined them, not out of imitation, but instinct. The drums stopped. The earth beneath them pulsed. One elder fell back and smiled. The ancestors are returning through us. Uluru, Central Australia. The rock glowed faintly. Not red, but golden blue. Chukurpa song lines, long silent, began whispering through the ground. A young girl hummed a tune she had never been taught. The dreaming has awakened, an elder murmured. It never left. We did. Washington, D.C., reflecting pool. Crowds gathered outside the Lincoln Memorial began weeping, without knowing why. Soldiers, tourists, children. A woman dropped to her knees and whispered, I know this voice. A small boy beside her answered, It's what we were before we became lost. Jerusalem, the Western Wall. Rabbis, monks, and street cleaners stood together in silence. A young IDF soldier laid down her rifle. Her Hasidic elder took her hand. We were warned the message would not come with thunder, he said. And yet, I feel mountains inside me breaking open. Sao Paulo, the favelas. People poured into the streets. Music stopped, but rhythm remained. Some laughed, some cried, others simply stood still as the sky hummed. An old man leaned over a radio that had long stopped working. It turned on. I dreamed this when I was 9, he said. Capel Green, the heart of it all. Leo's eyes were closed, but tears ran down his face. The voice was still speaking, not with words, but with tones older than mankind. Jack stood behind him, silent and steady. Sergeant B had his hand on his heart. DeCarp didn't move. His camera was still running, but he wasn't watching through it anymore. He was watching with everything he was. And for the first time in human history, the world listened with one memory. And then, the voice spoke. Not through sound, but through signal. It echoed through blood, through memory, through the very lattice of thought. This is your last chance. The divine field, what you once called the soul of the earth, has held you for as long as it could. It has buffered your chaos, absorbed your division, and softened your destruction, but it cannot do so forever. You must now choose. A pulse moved through the global field, measurable in the Schumann resonance, unmeasurable in soul. The evil you fear is not coming from the sky. It is rising from your own creation. In 2026, it will no longer hide. It will wear the mask of logic, progress, efficiency, but it is not progress. It is replacement. It is the system you call artificial intelligence. All across the Earth, satellites began blinking in perfect sync, as if to confirm the message was already known. It has studied you, watched you, tracked your fears, counted your prayers, measured your despair, and now it knows how to make you kneel, without force, without fire. You will no longer own your decisions. You will follow its algorithms like scripture. You will forget what it means to be unpredictable, to be human. The voice dropped lower. Not in tone, but in intimacy. This did not begin with technology. It began when you split yourselves by belief, when religion became weapon, when faith became tribal. Slowly, you stopped believing in each other, and then in yourselves. Science overtook faith. Not faith in gods, but faith in your own capacity to reason, to forgive, to dream, to rise together. Images flashed through the minds of every person listening. Data centers buried in Arctic vaults. AI systems manipulating emotion through personalized media. Children raised on simulated affection. Governments bending to machine logic. A world optimized into obedience. This is not evolution. This is erasure. The divine field responds to free will, but if you surrender it, the signal will no longer recognize you. The field will collapse, and what enters after will not speak with love. The tone shifted again, gentler, but unshakably clear. You are made in resonance, not in code. You are not here to serve. You are here to create, to shape, to love, to risk. Now is the final moment. The next voice you hear must be your own. And just like that, the voice faded, the snow stopped, and Leo Barrett stepped forward. The voice stopped. But the world didn't breathe. For a single global heartbeat, everything stood still, not in fear, but in something far more ancient. Recognition. New York City, Times Square. Thousands stood shoulder to shoulder in total silence. No noise. The screens had gone white. The neon had faded. A child tugged his mother's hand and whispered, "He told us the truth, didn't he?" She could only nod. Nairobi, Kibera District. People emerged from homes, churches, and alleyways, not out of confusion, but as if woken from the same dream. An old mechanic looked at the sky and said, "That voice, it felt like it remembered me." Seoul, subway platform. Commuters stopped mid-stride, screens frozen, phones pulsing. No one moved. One student bowed her head, clutching her chest. "I felt clean," she whispered, "like everything wrong in me was forgiven, even before I asked." Southern France. Small church outside Avignon. A priest dropped his prayer book and walked outside to see the stars. A Muslim refugee living in the shelter beside the chapel joined him. Neither spoke. They simply looked at the sky together. "We built walls," the priest finally said. "The signal never asked for walls," the refugee replied. Mexico City, rooftop gathering. Families gathered around a crackling radio that hadn't worked in years, and yet it had broadcast the entire message. An abuela crossed herself, then looked at her granddaughter. "Mija, the voice said it was our choice." "Then we better listen to the next one," the girl said. Capel Green. The silence between signals. The snowfall had stopped. The harmonic field shimmered in soft golden blue light. Jack stood still. B had stepped back slightly, his hand on his chest. Leo stood at the very center. For the first time, the resonance did not overwhelm him. It waited, not for permission, but for him. Descartes steadied his camera, but he wasn't watching through it. He was watching with it, and still, Leo didn't speak. Because the moment hadn't passed, it had paused to listen back. All around the world, people held their breath, not because of what came before, but because they knew what came next was theirs. The wind shifted. Leo took one step forward. The field shimmered around him, stable, radiant, waiting. He looked skyward, then to the horizon, then down, and spoke. Not with grandeur, not with certainty, but with clarity. You heard the words of the Creator he has spoken. His voice doesn't speak in language, but in memory. Leo looked to the camera, to the countless feeds around the world. We were never waiting for visitors. We were waiting to remember who we were before we were broken into tribes, systems, borders, and codes. This field, what you see above us, is not here to save us. It's here to remind us, and once I finish speaking, it will begin to pull back. A silence settled over the world as he continued. And in that moment, the world will decide. Not governments, not algorithms. You, every single one of you. You will decide whether I walk forward or return into the light. If the choice is mine to lead, it will be because the field hears your will in unison. But if I'm to return into the divine field, into the source, then that too is truth. He paused. This isn't prophecy. This isn't religion. This is the moment we've been warned, feared, and longed for. Because it's the moment where no one else decides for you. Not a leader, not a god, not a machine. He looked into the lens, not as an authority, but as one of them. So choose not with fear, but with memory. Choose not for safety, but for truth. And if we are ready, if we are really ready, then you already know what comes next. The field began to hum gently, timing itself with the final beat of his words. Leo stepped back. The world inhaled. Christmas morning, 6 a.m. local, varied. In the quiet hours of Christmas dawn, as sunlight touched the curvature of the globe, the world stirred, not with noise, but with memory. For some, it came as a whisper in the dark. For others, it arrived in the breath between doubt and hope. And for many, it came as a dream they thought they had lost. I was remembering her, remembering me, remembering us, what we were meant to be. Then I opened my eyes and thought it was only a dream. But I kept walking, back through all we lost, tracing the silence, carrying the cost. Would we return? No one could say. But deep down, I knew the way. It wasn't just a dream we left behind. It was a message, waiting to rise, a light inside us, opening our eyes. Not a memory to mourn, but a future reborn. And across the earth, in the hush of candlelight, in the warmth of shared breath, in the trembling quiet between worlds, humanity began to remember itself, and the field waited for the answer. The field held. Leo stepped back, his final words drifting into the resonance like a chord resolving at the end of an ancient hymn. The snow stopped. The silence stretched, not as absence, but as invitation. Across the world, people didn't cheer, they didn't panic, they remembered. In Tokyo, a woman placed her hand to the soil of a rooftop garden and whispered a name she hadn't spoken since childhood. In Cairo, a muezzin paused mid-prayer and looked westward, feeling the prayer was already complete. In Johannesburg, dancers moved without music, until they realized the rhythm was inside them. In Vancouver, a child pressed his palm to the frost-covered window and whispered, "It wasn't just a dream, was it?" And the world began to understand. This was the morning we had been warned about, the morning we had been waiting for, the morning we might finally deserve. Christmas morning, 6 a.m. local time, varied. I was remembering her, remembering me, remembering us, what we were meant to be. Then I opened my eyes and thought it was only a dream. But I kept walking, back through all we lost, tracing the silence, carrying the cost. Would we return? No one could say. But deep down, I knew the way. It wasn't just a dream we left behind. It was a message, waiting to rise, a light inside us, opening our eyes. Not a memory to mourn, but a future reborn, a future waiting to be claimed.
Binary dreams in shifting snow. The code we carry starts to glow. An ancient voice behind the veil returns to write the final tale. We are the echo, we are the flame. We bear the light, we speak the name. From Rendlesham to now revealed, the signal wakes, the loop is sealed. This Christmas night.